Welcome back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 135, which is Godzilla Minus One, directed by Takashi Yamazaki from 2023. This is an incredible film. I came out of nowhere, hit everyone by surprise. In fact, it is nominated for an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. This is actually the first time since Stanley Kubrick that a director of a movie is being nominated for a visual effects award at the Oscars. So kind of an incredible story. Yes, we do talk about Godzilla Minus One, but we really use this podcast also as a way to just discuss the direction of Hollywood and where things are going, and how this is actually a really positive turn. I mean, we've actually talked a lot about how we think things need to change. Franchises and superhero films are not the same, yet this is kind of a franchise and superhero film, but somehow done correctly. And it's just kind of incredible to think about what that means. So we are super excited about this film, and we're very glad to talk about it. So yeah, lots of cool stuff in this film. Okay, a couple of things I want to mention. I do want to mention that somehow my audio got a little messed up on this podcast. Yes, these things happen. These happen every now and then. I ended up recording it on the wrong input microphone. And so I thought everything was going fine, but something sounded a little wrong. So if I sound a little bit underwater, it's because the audio isn't quite right. But you can still definitely hear me. It's just not the normal quality that I have my microphone at. So just want to mention that. The other thing I want to mention is that, we've kind of hinted at it a bunch before, but yes, Martini Giant is working on a major project together. We are in the middle of that production, which is probably why you haven't necessarily heard from us as much. That doesn't mean that we're not paying attention to the podcast. It just means that we got a lot of stuff going on. So this podcast was actually supposed to come out last week. We were in the middle of producing stuff, so we couldn't actually release the podcast then, but releasing it now. And we may start talking about this a little bit more here and there. So you can definitely hear about it. In fact, if you do want to hear about it, we probably will be talking about it a little bit this Saturday. We're recording an episode this Saturday, which will be February 10th. We haven't figured out the movie yet, but we were going to figure this out in about a half an hour. We're going to get on the meeting to discuss what movie we're going to talk about. But yeah, stay tuned and find out what we're going to be doing. And yeah, we'll probably end up talking a little bit more about the things that we're doing on set, which I'm very excited about as well. But for now, please enjoy episode number 135, which is Godzilla Minus One.
I was really happy to hear that, Eric, you had seen Godzilla Minus One in Japan.
Yes.
But tell us the special circumstances under which you had seen this.
Oh, it was fabulous. They have, when you're in Tokyo or in Japan for the most part, they have extra features for moviegoers, and it's complete surprise. You can't plan it. But if you're in a movie theater like I was,
it's kind of like the Tingler, right? When they
it's the Tingler. I actually saw the Tingler in New York once.
Vincent Price, magnificent, yes.
And
yes.
With the vibrating seats, and we were watching. It was the third act, and it was like they were fighting. The big ship battle, take them down, and it was a IMAX theater.
Oh, it was in an IMAX too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was an IMAX theater with at Toho Studios, which is the studio that makes Godzilla. So we went to the Toho Studios. They have their own screening facility, and you can buy tickets and watch it. And so we went, and I'll post pictures up, guys, for the screening room and stuff. And so we went, and there's the fight sequence, and it was the audio was incredible, and the seat in front of me and a couple rows ahead of me was like, just like if you're looking at it, it's just doing this. And so I'm shifting with it. I'm like, wow, these subwoofers are crazy.
It's insane.
And I look at my daughter, and we're looking at all the seats, and they're all going.
They're just vibrating.
But they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm like, this subwoofer, that's insane. What a theater. And everyone's looking around like, wow. And it's going, and then the panels up above are going, ooh. And then like the panels on the wall in the screen room are going, and then stop, and I was like, that's crazy. That's kind of weird. That's crazy subwoofers. And then it goes to the point in the film where it goes silent and they scan in. You know how they dolly in, but they're silent. It's just quietly going in, and all of a sudden, I was like, and my daughter's like, that's an earthquake. And it was the earthquake, the 7.2.
Yeah, nice.
That's right. Oh, man, dude. Well,
off the coast of Japan.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And that was on whenever it was, Monday or last weekend. So it was like, we got out, and it went on for like a minute and a quarter, minute and a half, 2 minutes, back and forth. And we got out of the theater. I was like, that was it. And everybody was talking, of course, in Japanese, like, oh, earthquake. But it really hit the coast. So the West Coast got hit, and then a tsunami came. Mm-hmm. And then my wife's sister...
You guys were on the East Coast or in the center? Kinda?
East Coast. But still, it was 7.2. Oh, yeah. It rocked the city. And so Tuesday, my wife's sister leaves with her family because they were there 3 days before us, and we left Thursday night. And so we say goodbye to her, and she heads to Haneda Airport, and she's waiting in her plane, and the plane lands and hit that other plane.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And we took off from Haneda on Thursday night. It was all cleaned up.
Oh my God, dude. Like you were basically going through the Charlton Heston catalog of disaster films.
Yeah. And what's weird, driving to Haneda on Thursday, you could see the what is it called? The sea, but it's not Air Force, it's for the sea, it's Coast Guard. Hangar for all the planes, and the prop plane that crashed, one of them was the same model, was there parked. Man. And I passed it driving in, and I was like, holy moly, that's the plane. Right. But apparently they overshot, because you know how the runways go this way?
Yep.
And then you have these little cut points in between where they can scoot across and get to the areas. Mm-hmm. The Coast Guard was on the other side, away from where the people converge, and it was trying to get there, but it didn't stop at its designated, because they're doing supply runs to the earthquake victims. Mm-hmm.
Right.
It didn't stop completely. You're supposed to stop at C1, or it's just like a marker, and it didn't completely stop there, so its tail stuck out.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it didn't completely stop at the C signage because the air traffic controller said, and I guess the guy was tired from any supply runs, and it's the Coast Guard. They're like, stop at C1, and the guy was like, C3, hi. And it's like, no, C1.
No, wait. Yeah, right.
And he didn't get that. C1, hi. Right. And it's like, no, C3, hi. And he's like, no, C1.
Right.
And so it was too late. I mean, it happened so fast. So it clipped the back, and set the whole thing on fire. And then it said, but at dinner on Wednesday, everybody, all her family, were at sushi in Shinjuku. And they were like, in the Western world, everyone would have died.
Oh, everyone would have died. Absolutely. It would have been a panic. And
they got the entire 379 passengers with crew or whatever it was
everybody out.
In less than 2 minutes.
Everyone's polite, organized, got their shit together and left.
Let's go, jump.
Yeah, exactly.
Within that, there wasn't like, I'm going first or anything. They all just lined up and jumped.
Yep.
And they all got out.
Yep.
It's a miracle that they got out.
Yeah, if that had happened over here, it would have been...
It would have been a Tenerife thing again. Yep. People would have just panicked, run over each other, but they just kind of monoculture line.
Hey, man. They got their act together. That's it.
They got their act. Dude, you can eat off the floors in the subways.
I mean, you can do that in LA if you want.
Yeah.
You can. It's true.
But I'll tell you, this Tokyo rant, getting into the airport, and I'll post pictures when we're talking about this. The airport was unbelievable and you pre-check your bags in, and this woman stands there, and you put it on this thing, and it's like scans it, like you put it on its side, goes and it weighs it, scans it, and itemizes it for you. Next, please, thank you. Put it down, and then it goes through this wall where how there's a slot, and the slot goes up, the thing goes in, slot comes down, just like out of a movie, and it goes to your plane. That's all you do is put it there, and they scan your eye. So you put your thing in, and they take a picture of your face and scan your eye.
That's amazing.
I thought it was interesting just going through security. They are so polite.
Did you? I know. Did you fly out of Haneda?
Security, they're like, yes, please. Oh, please, sir. No, back.
Thank you.
This way. No.
Did you
please,
fly out of Haneda?
That's not LAX.
No.
Did you fly out of Narita or Haneda?
Haneda.
That's what I flew out of. I usually go to Narita. It's so beautiful and clean.
Well, everything is. Yeah,
I know, but
the minute you land in Los Angeles and you walk out of the airport, you look like, oh my God, there's trash everywhere.
We landed in Detroit for a layover.
Yeah.
And it was a shit. I'm like, it's a shithole. It was like A and B. It was like, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Complete shithole.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. They're doing something right.
The Japanese?
Yeah.
They don't let white people in.
Hey, man.
It's a monoculture.
I know it is a monoculture, but here's the thing.
Monoculture. We
went to this market area, the new fish market, and they have, it's all the different fish markets up, but they had moved it over the past couple of years since the last time I was there. And they have one of those bulletin boards that kind of have a little roof over the edge, and you could just post things, right?
Right.
There was Ray-Bans with a glove hanging on the wall. Somebody had lost it, so please pick it up.
Right.
Like, where would you do that in LA? Somebody would just take the black Ray-Bans and walk
Ray-Bans. Yeah, exactly.
But it was sitting there hanging, like,
right. I tell you what, this is the best. This. I got a related story to this, and this was in Kauai, right? On the island of Kauai in Hawaii. We were watching the local news because local news is actually the best way to sort of get a vibe of how things are like to live.
And local newscaster women in Hawaii are super attractive.
Well, this was just a regular
just
guy
to point that out.
Yeah, just
so here were the headlines for that day for the news. The first headline was that a large rock had come off the highway and rolled. Did not actually block the highway.
You went through a house.
There. No, nothing destroyed. Nothing happened. It's just a large rock. And that was one of the headline news. Okay?
There you go. That's kind of fun.
The second headline news was that this woman, the sheriff's wife, was at the Walmart and she lost her handbag in the parking lot. And here's her local phone number. If anyone found it, can you please call the phone number because the sheriff's badge is in her bag?
I dream of going back to those news days. That's amazing. Because if you want my opinion of the news, watch Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh God, yeah.
That's what I think the news is.
That's what the news is.
That's what I think.
And it's very depressing, Nightcrawler, but it is very true.
Double feature of Nightcrawler and Network, and you have my entire opinion.
Very depressing, actually.
That's pretty true.
Very, very depressing. But to see that contrast. Went to Nobu.
Oh, I can't imagine, dude. I can't imagine how good that is.
Wife's mother took us there.
That must have been unbelievable.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I must say. Expensive. Very good.
Yeah. That's all right. I expect great to be expensive. That's okay. I'm not a fan of expensive and kind of mid, which is a lot of stuff that I've had over here.
What was the thing you were saying? Like $40 bottle of wine is shitty?
Oh yeah, that's always my because like you can get a great bottle of wine. I don't drink very much anything anymore, but you can get a great bottle of wine for $15 or over $100. But in between, that's when it gets dicey.
$40 is not worth it.
$40 don't do it.
There were nights I would just walk the streets where we were in Ginza and just go to the 7-Eleven, which was like a really great store. It wasn't like the 7-Eleven. The food,
Oh, no.
fresh cooked.
Was there what are they called? What are they called over there? The
And
7-Elevens.
Family Mart.
Yeah.
And I would buy a bottle of Prosecco for $6.
Oh man, yeah, that's how it should
It was
be.
decent. It was good.
Dude.
It's like
decent food and decent booze should not be expensive. Like decent means decent. Like it shouldn't be trash.
Right.
And then great food, if it's expensive, then okay, but it's great. Like, but I swear to God, like most of the fancy restaurants I've ever eaten at, especially in LA, I'm like, this is not like knock your socks off. Like I've had much better stuff, much cheaper. It's just the fucking bullshit atmosphere.
it's the bullshit atmosphere.
Yeah. Like who
But
cares?
there is a way of life and something to learn. I'll be honest with you from that culture. No culture is perfect, but
Everyone's got their ups and downs, but it is nice to be in a subway that isn't dangerous. That's a good thing.
But
we
you've
took
been
the
a
subway a lot.
Japanophile ever since I've known you.
Dan,
You.
me?
I'm into the movies. That's all I know. I've never been there.
Oh no, you're talking about me, Chris?
Yeah, you're a Japanophile.
Yeah, I've been there a bunch of times because my wife is Japanese.
Well,
But I
know, but you've always loved it every time you go there.
oh, dude, the shopping, the walking around, the stores, the nooks and crannies. I spent the whole every day walking till the night with my laptop on my back. I just go to hang out. Went to some cool places. Had Wagyu beef.
What, yeah.
Yeah.
There's this place that made burgers like In-N-Out, but it was Wagyu.
Well, they have that here too.
It was
But
so
I don't
good.
think it's the same.
It was so good, and I ate it in the afternoon. I was full for dinner. I couldn't eat. It was just like this little power pack, but it has a lot of fat striated through it. But the architecture, Chris, is unbelievable. I'm uploading photos. I'll share with everybody. Just some little samplers. But holy moly, I want to go back. If I had FU money, I'd get a place there.
That'd be great.
You know, and a little car, drive around, beep, beep. Just go to the theater, have friends over.
Man, I gotta tell you, like I've been trying to go to the theater more and more because of COVID, obviously. People just...
Can you not hear me, Jason? Okay, something's weird going on.
Something's weird going on with the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I've been upping my going to the theater as much as I can afford to go, and I really forgot how much I miss going to a good movie theater. Like going to see Godzilla Minus One, going to see like I've been just like, they're like going to see Godzilla Minus One with a crowd was fucking insane. Like that is like nothing else. It's like you just like, oh yeah, that's what it's like. It's so fun and so exciting to be in a room full of people that are pumped about what you're all watching together. It's and that movie is designed to be. That's a crowd pleaser. Godzilla Minus One is one of the great crowd pleasers I've seen in many years. Like that's like Top Gun level. That's like the Top Gun of monsters.
Well, you know, there's a lot to be said about it. And yeah, I mean, Jesus Payosa is on.
Jesus.
And it is definitely one of the top movies that's come out. I don't say that lightly.
Yeah, it's a real achievement. It's a real achievement.
And it's amazing that you can do that, right? Like it's because it is Godzilla, and Godzilla in a lot of ways has been sort of mocked for a long time as
it's been mostly
kitschy and
silly.
goofy, right?
It's mostly
Well,
silly.
the 70s killed that. The 70s did that.
Yeah.
Because when the original Godzilla is quite a serious horror movie.
It's great. It's black and white.
It's a great film. It's a legit great film.
But they got real goofy in the 70s with those little babies like
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst. The thing is, I mean, there are lots of goofy Godzilla movies that are still very fun. Like basically, Kaiju turned it. It's like these are like rubber suit wrestling movies.
I love the
They're
Mothra
great.
Girls.
The Mothra Girls are great, and Mothra is actually still a very good movie. I like that. It's a good monster movie. And I like Rodan, and I like a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, Rodan I like.
You know, especially like the the Honda movies. You know, like he was a great director. He was the original director of Godzilla was actually Akira Kurosawa's main AD. And that like Kurosawa loved Godzilla, and like there's a whole relationship back and forth between that. But it faded into being sort of pop culture fun. And to have this movie, there's been a couple of truly great Godzilla movies. Shin Godzilla is one of them, the original Godzilla. But to come back and make a really good, old-fashioned, scary, emotional movie is a great return to form. And I think it's a lesson for American IP
executives.
Yes, like you can make a really good, powerful movie and still have it be your monster movie that makes a lot of money.
There's so many lessons to be learned here, none of which will go through because I don't think the people making decisions in Hollywood understand creative decisions.
Yeah,
right?
well, the people making decisions in Hollywood are not
Mattel and
filmmakers.
go, let's make more like toy movies and not realize that Barbie is not about the toys, right?
Yeah. Right.
But they're going to look at Godzilla and like, oh, okay, well, let's go back to 1970s monster films. Like, that's not the point.
No.
Right. And I think that there's a lot to be said about like what we need to learn from this because I don't think they're going to get it.
Well, it's going to be interesting because Godzilla Minus One is doing very well over here. It made $80 million in the States, which is huge for a Japanese film. And we also have this year coming out the American Godzilla series, which is now Godzilla times Kong is the next one. And it looks, no offense to anybody who worked on this and did special effects, this movie looks absolutely terrible. It looks like a PS5 ad when I saw the trailer. Like it looked atrocious. And like the drama in it looks ridiculous. It looks awful. And I'm just like, I wonder if this will do well off of the fact that Godzilla Minus One was good. Because like it did, like if this is a bad Godzilla movie, I don't want it to do well over here. I
think people know the difference between
Godzilla
the difference,
right?
After this.
I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, they understand, I think, the difference, right? So
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because this is an opportunity for studios to learn something. It's like, why didn't our Godzilla movie do any business? You know, and it's because it looks like trash. Like, and maybe it's a great movie. I haven't seen it, but I'm just saying from the ad, I am not motivated to see that movie. It looks like as bad as the other American Godzilla movies, which there have been, I think, 3 of them now, and they're all very bad movies.
They're very bad movies.
They're very bad movies. Like the
story on this one was so good, and you were engaged with the characters where I've never been before in some of the American Godzillas. Yeah.
Like American Godzilla has never gotten it right ever. The one Godzilla movie that I think that is my personal favorite still is the weirdest Godzilla movie, which is Shin Godzilla. But that's particular to me. I would say that this Godzilla movie is probably the best Godzilla movie ever made in terms of
the first one.
Say like, yeah, it's at least at that level. It's not like I prefer the first one in terms of its tone. And it's like I
like the first one.
Yeah, the first one's a real horror movie. And so like there's a couple of Godzilla movies that are ahead of this one for me, but that's a personal taste thing. This thing is as well made as any Godzilla movie ever made. It's terrific. It's a giant crowd pleaser, and the effects are out of control. It's really beautifully done. Like everything about it is beautifully done.
Yeah. And it's surprised. Did people really think it was going to do well?
I think people thought, I think that they knew they had something in Japan for sure. But nobody predicted that it was going to be a hit in the States. That's a real surprise. But the trailer was terrific.
Yeah.
And so from the moment I saw that, I want to see it.
Yeah. And it's just a way I think that we can approach it. We can go through the movie and we talk more about it as they come along. Do you guys hear me okay? Yeah, you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
I left and came back just in case something would help with the audio, but I don't know. You guys tell me. But yeah, it's I think there's something kind of very, very special about how they made this thing. And there was also a style and a cultural thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the big or the teeny elephant in the room is the budget.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The fact that they did this thing for $15 million,
It's radical.
is insane.
This is the big thing the studios should learn from this year is the creator and Godzilla Minus One have embarrassed the studios terrifically.
Embarrassed the visual effects companies too.
It's unreal how good those movies look.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like I rewatched The Creator recently, and it went down in my book as far as being a movie. It's a very frustrating movie to watch now.
You rewatched which one?
The Creator. Like there are key things wrong with that movie that really make it fall apart as a story that are really tough to. That's a whole different episode, but the effects themselves are out of control.
Hold on, because it's important, because that's a Gareth Edwards film. And remember, Gareth Edwards was the first Godzilla.
Yeah, like
current Godzilla.
Now,
franchise.
I think that Gareth Edwards is a terrific director, and I think that
he is. We've seen Monster.
Well, no,
but that's
wasn't there a Roland Emmerich one?
No.
That's a different. That's the 90s
the new
version.
reboot of Godzilla from just a few years ago was quote directed by Gareth Edwards, but I believe even Gareth Edwards is like the studio just fucking ran roughshod over me on this thing, and it shows because that is a bad movie. You can see it's like with that and Rogue One, the studios took the movie away from him because they needed to make it more studio-y, right? But with the creator, like. The creator is really interesting because he is a very, very talented director. He's good with actors. He understands what a scene is and how to edit it. His visuals are absolutely flawless and super inventive. He has incredible ways of making things look so spectacular, yet so like integrated in the environment. And it's really great. That as a screenplay, it's missing only one or two key beats. But because those things are missing, I care less and less and less about what's going on.
You're talking about the creator.
The creator.
Yeah.
And because I care less, I'm more and more irritated with the movie because it's demanding. It's like, aren't you moved by this? And I'm like, I don't give a fucking shit what's going on. I don't like any of these people, and I don't care about anything that's happening. And that's a drag because like, and it shows like how difficult it is to get a movie right because he gets everything else completely right. But the movie, it's like, imagine watching True Grit, only you don't like Jeff Bridges or Haley Steinfeld, and you don't feel like they like each other. And by the end of the movie, you're like, why aren't I enjoying this? Like everything about it is beautiful. Why isn't this working? That's my experience watching The Creator. It's very frustrating. However, I still have faith in Gareth Edwards as a director. I think it's a minor but serious flaw in that movie.
I don't know. You know, it's interesting, right? You always see these things with these. I mean, I hate to put it this way, but like Neil Blomkamp, right? District 9.
Yeah.
Huge success. And then it's not, he hasn't had a District 9 since District 9.
I know.
Not even close.
He's like an incredibly skilled, inventive person that is somehow missing an important element in his movies that makes them a frustrating watch.
No, he's missing politics.
I think he's something he really cares about.
He's missing personal politics to work within the studio system.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I mean, okay, maybe, but I mean,
that's when the studio takes over, you've somehow made them feel that you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And there are Brett Ratner who makes movies with no hiccup.
Yeah, I know.
And he's a political machine. Yeah,
it's true.
And so,
it's true.
So there is an art to that, and there are a lot of directors that are corporate. For me, I've met some of them even that they're corporate directors, meaning they just know how to navigate the waters.
Like I think that you got to do something like what Kaczynski did, right?
Yeah.
What he did is he's like, okay, I'm going to attach myself to Tom Cruise.
and that's not picking on Kaczynski.
Nope.
Like
that's smart. That's
really smart.
It's the very smart thing because he's like, Tom Cruise likes how my films look.
Yeah.
And so he's going to support my art form, and no one's going to fuck with Tom.
Yeah, and he really, really clearly learned an enormous amount from working with Cruise.
Oh yeah,
because Cruise knows how to make a movie. Like Cruise is as good a producer as Hollywood has ever seen.
Yep.
And this is when you're saying earlier with like studios won't realize what's wrong or why Godzilla blah blah blah. Like it's because studios no longer are populated by filmmakers in terms of being producers. Like producers are not filmmakers when you talk about studio execs. They're just business people that are trying to read stat sheets, and they don't understand why things work or don't work. They don't know why Marvel's underperforming when we're checking all the right tick boxes. Whereas Cruise actually understands what a good movie is and knows what audiences want. And when Kaczynski started working with him on Top Gun, like Cruise, saw something in Kaczynski and knew what he did really well. And Kaczynski was like, this dude can help me make a great film and I can learn from him. And then they made Top Gun, which is a great fucking movie, And so I have total faith in Kaczynski moving forward because he like really worked with what Tom Cruise wanted to do. And
well, listen, Tom Cruise is a perfectionist, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
so is Joe, though, isn't he?
And so is Joe Kaczynski.
Absolutely, so is Joe.
Absolutely,
so is Joe. But I mean, I think it's also like, if you think about Tom Cruise and I believe Spielberg were like the biggest advocate for director's modes on TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
These guys care about the movies they make.
Yeah.
Like it's their name that's going on this thing. And
as
they're going to make
Nolan
a good
intended.
One, right? As Chris Nolan intended. God bless him. Oh yeah, I really I know we pick on. I love Chris Nolan movies. But we've made
I
fun
pick
of
on
Chris
him when I'm on my Peloton and I'm doing my Peloton classes.
This was I was going to bring up. I loved it because that Nolan actually made a joke out of this. Was hysterical. He's just like,
have you heard about this, Eric?
Yeah,
no,
so funny. Like
some guy was teaching a Peloton class, like a Peloton instructor, and it was a live thing, and he was basically talking about how he thought that a certain Chris Nolan film was kind of worthless and not good.
Chris Nolan's one of the people in the Peloton class.
Chris Nolan was in the class.
He's just like, yeah, that's Tenet. That's 2 hours I won't get back. and Chris Nolan's the one who was telling the story. Like that's what's really. I was just like, okay, I like that guy. That was pretty funny, and it was cool that he said that. So I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I part of me it was I was watching the thing where what's this? Oh, sorry, Jonas Using. He's got a movie Rabbit Hole series that he's done, which is about no CGI is invisible CGI.
Yeah,
right?
It's terrific. Yeah,
which is really great. And he had a whole segment on Chris Nolan, right? And so talking about Chris Nolan, and he showed part of Chris Nolan's visionary award that he was given by the VES.
Yeah.
Right? This is, again, how the VES likes to reward people who shit on visual effects, which is one of the reasons I probably will not rejoin the VES.
Yeah. VES.
But they give him a thing. But he, in that speech, acceptance speech that Nolan gave at the VES Awards, he talked about, like, it's kind of embarrassing that I'm getting an award here. It's like an actress getting a Botox award or something like that, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like, you wanted, and then part of me was like, fuck you.
Like I think that because Nolan certainly knows the value of CG. He uses it all the time.
But he knows the value of shitting on it too.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that he understands.
I just don't understand what's the point of that.
Because
it's like, to
me,
money.
It sells more tickets.
Yeah, that's it. It's business. It's straight
but
business.
it's like crapping on the craft service people. It's
but there's not enough craft services to buy tickets. Other people will buy tickets.
You
can
for
get
anyone
a million people who say yes because he doesn't use CGI to buy a ticket.
So, like, to sum this up for the audience who hasn't heard us rant about this is the super short story version of what we're complaining about right here. Is that studios?
It's related to this movie, by the way. Also.
Yes. So studios who are responsible for giving you things like the shitty CG in the Scorpion King, like the reason why that CG is bad is because studios you look at CG as a crutch so they can change things a lot in the edit in the last minute, and then the CG falls apart and the movie they deliver looks bad. And so you end up with a bad movie with bad VFX. And when you end up with a bad movie with bad VFX, the audience goes, that movie was bad and had bad VFX, that gets merged together in their mind as bad VFX made the movie bad, right? And that gets further focused as CG means bad movies, right?
But they've been doing that for years.
Right, and this has been going on for years, but it's become so firmed up in the audience's mind that if you're using CG, then you're making a bad movie. They don't realize that, and if anyone has Criterion Channel, I recommend going and watching The Making of Llewyn Davis, which is terrific. And you will see that inside Llewyn Davis, which is not a science fiction movie, has so much fucking CG in it, you wouldn't even believe it. It's an endless amount of green screen, CG trains, everything. CG galore in inside Llewyn Davis, right? And nobody says that movie's bad because they didn't know there was any CG in it at all, because they didn't see it. But people associate bad CG with bad movies because of studios. Studios then look at this fact and go, well,
let's market it.
Let's market this. Good. They think it's shitty. They think movies are bad because of CG because we made them think that. Cool.
Right. So if anything has invisible visual effects, they market it. But here's also what's interesting. It's not just that's happening, and this was brought up in Jonas's video as well. Mm-hmm. If you look at Napoleon, right?
Yeah.
And you listen to Ridley Scott talk about Napoleon, right? He actually, unedited Ridley Scott, talks about how amazing the visual effects are.
Yeah, and how excited he is about them.
How excited he is about them, how much he wishes, how much it was they could do in 62 days because of all the visual effects, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the YouTube videos of the interviews, and they edited it so it makes it sound like there's no CGI in what he's talking about.
They edited to make it seem like he's bragging that there's no CGI.
And in fact, you look at him saying in an interview, it's like, there's no CGI here. And then they show a shot where there's clearly CGI.
Right.
And they probably picked a shot that was different than the one he was talking about.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the thing is, like, he is bragging about the CGI in the interview. Like, he's just like, I would never be able to get this we'd never be able to get this many men.
The reason the press or the YouTuber is pushing a narrative of no CGI because they get more clicks.
Yes.
So no CGI
it feeds into this perception
that
because it gives people this sort of rush to be like, oh, these are serious filmmakers that do it by hand, right, and tell that story. Mm-hmm. When real filmmakers will use whatever fucking tool they can to tell their story as well as they can.
Yes.
That's the goal. And whether it's CG or whether it's not, because if you talk to CG people, first of all, you can tell if you're reading an article or seeing a video and the people that are saying CGI, almost nobody in the business says CGI.
No one says CGI.
We say CG. If they are saying CGI, they probably don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
Guaranteed. That's how you know.
Right.
But the fact is, people in CG love using practical shit. Like, if they can go out and film a plate in the parking lot of something exploding, they will go and do that.
Our entire business is based on reference.
Yes. We love that shit.
I've totally done that. I mean, I've been in 2012, I've been in Independence Day 2, and I've been in Willy Wonka.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I just go out to the parking lot and run or look
just
panic.
Fucking go and get it. Like the people that are great at CG, that deliver the goods that you don't even realize is CG, like they'll get it done any way they can get it done to make it look great for you. That's what we do, right?
Dave 3D also mentioned that Tom Cruise is very guilty of the no CGI thing, and that's absolutely true.
Totally true. Sure.
He is absolutely on the marketing side of the bullshit crap that's going on. Sorry,
but Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan, like I'm very frustrated that they buy into that sales mechanism. But I understand the point. Like
they did it on Barbie too, by the way. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like Barbie has no CG.
And apparently Warner Brothers is now making it a policy. Are you ready?
No.
No visual effects studio is allowed to show any behind the scenes work of any of their movies.
Oh my God, it's just disgusting. It's just disgusting.
There is
It's,
no
it pisses me
marketing.
off.
If you
What's
work on
the
a Warner
point of
Brothers
that?
film, because they want to hide.
They want to
any
sell the
CG.
fantasy that this is
Yes.
real life. When that's the movie's job. It's a fantasy. That's what we do. We're
Yeah,
fucking
they want to
magicians.
pretend. And they have a feeling that all the other studios are going to fall into line as well.
Right. But anyway, we strongly recommend watching these videos by, what's the guy's name, Chris?
Jonas Using. And they're really good. Just it's
They're great.
and
he's very even-handed. He's not crazy like we are.
The Movie Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
And he's done two videos so far. Or just go to YouTube at The Movie Rabbit Hole, all one word. It should be good.
Like,
And
to
it's
me,
really good.
To me, the most responsible among the crew is Ridley Scott, who is absolutely psyched to be using CGI as part of his tool set, because the guy fucking makes movies all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like with Christopher Nolan and Tom Cruise, I think
he's done a couple of films. He's a pretty good
a few hundred films. Like he's like that dude. It's like the older he gets, the faster he makes movies. Like it's amazing. But with
I still
Tom
got
Cruise,
20 more in me before I die.
fucking go Gladiator 2 next month. Let's go. But like but with Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan, I understand the point of view of like, this is Barnum and Bailey, man. It's selling tickets, and we got to sell tickets however you sell tickets. That's how we do it. But the best way to fight back against it is to tell people that watch movies, like, these guys, like CG folks, are as dedicated as anybody to delivering a great show for you. And the reason why when you see Marvel movies, that look like shit, that is because of the way the production is run.
Yes,
that's what's happening.
This brings, let's go back to Godzilla Minus One, because this actually is an important thing. The CG in this film is not stellar. Before you get upset at me, it's not stellar. It's perfect for what this is.
It's good filmmaking. That's what it is.
Perfect for what this is, right?
Yes.
This would not pass mustard in a lot of visual effects studios here. Especially the water stuff looks a little funky and wonky. But because of what they're doing in this film, and because the director, who is a visual effects person, by the way, mm-hmm. can see this and is paying tribute to a genre and a style of filmmaking, especially in terms of miniature looks and everything else. This is fantastic. It completely is an immersive experience.
Yeah.
That you are conscious of the style of the thing that you're looking at,
you've
without
seen more
it distracting you from the beauty of this film.
In fact, you've definitely seen more photorealistic, high detail, incredible work before. Definitely. However, you have also seen super photorealistic stuff that didn't work as a movie, right? And this is very good CG. It's not like perfect A++ CG, but it's pretty good CG, but it is great movie making. Yeah. Like these guys, every single shot.
It's in the bake-offs, right?
Oh, good. This is what it should. This is the mindset of real filmmaking.
I bet you it will win like Ex Machina did, and it'll fuck up the whole visual effects industry.
The reason why Ex Machina won is not because those effects are particularly complicated. It's because that's a really good fucking movie, right? That's why it won.
Well, okay. There's several reasons it won. Mm-hmm. It was the first time a woman was nominated for a visual effects award.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of stuff in there as well.
I forgot her name, but
right, that's true. That's all. But the fact is, like, you don't look at Ex Machina and you're not distracted by the effects. Like, you are watching the movie, which is the primary responsibility of what you're doing as a VFX technician. Yeah. Like, everything you do is there to make the movie film better. Yeah, right. Exactly. Whereas, like, you can tell when you're watching whatever, Black Widow, like, you can tell that everybody who was working on this wanted to go home. Like, they're like, please, let me go home. This is the 14th time I've rendered this shot, and it doesn't look any better because you guys don't know what you're doing. Like, you don't know the movie you're making. And so we've had to, true. Like, what you're seeing on screen is the result of bad decision-making creatively and at the top business-wise. Whereas with Godzilla, what you're seeing is artists working at their maximum within their boundaries.
How many times have you put out a shot where it's like, it's fine, done, just move on?
It's fine. Who gives a shit? Yeah, it looks like glowy bullshit.
So many times.
Yeah, right. Whereas, like, with like great visual effects, the reason why, like you can say that the original Star Wars in the original print has great visual effects, even though by today's standards they're terrible, because the fucking filmmaking in those visual effects is pristine. Like, yes, you can tell they're models. Yes, you can see the fucking matte lines, but you never leave the movie ever. No. Like, you are in the movie, right? And that's what Godzilla does. And Godzilla has way better visual effects than that. Like, you are in it and you are consumed by it. That's the job.
Yeah. I love it.
Yes. That's
what it was so good. And it just, I don't know if people are going to get the message, but I think this is enough of a shakeup that this keeps happening over and over and over again, right? You have things like Godzilla. You have things like Everything Everywhere. You have these kind of like rebellious independent filmmakers that are creating these incredible things using CGI or using AI or using different things that are what it takes to get things done and look great.
Yep.
And they're not going by the giant Mandalorian machines.
Yes.
Right.
Like you're using the tools to deliver the movie.
Right.
Like everything is in service of making a great movie. And so when I pick on the creator, like the thing that's wrong with the creator in the shortest way you can say it is like the screenplay is not polished. And because of that, the movie kind of fails. However,
the visuals are good.
he is an excellent director of actors. He knows how to fucking edit and put together and shoot a scene. And his sense of visuals is beyond anybody else by a million miles. Like the guy has a visionary approach. Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
Right. I really think that he needs to work with better screenwriters to rewrite his stuff.
Excuse me.
His screenwriting is not up to the rest of his work, and that's where he's struggling. However, if he put his skills as a director with actors, skills as a director with working with editors, and his visual skills onto a screenplay that was like Blade Runner quality, you would have a new classic science fiction film.
What do you think's holding him back then?
He needs a screenwriter. Like I think he wrote the creator himself or with one other person, and the screenplay has basic faults that kill it, and it's just the way it is. Like it doesn't work, and that's why the movie was hurt. However, that doesn't mean the movie is bad. It just means the movie is very frustrating. The visually, however, it's one of the best things I've seen in 20, 30 years. And it was $60 million. It looks like it's $400 million, and it's $60 million. It's astonishing to look at. And he should be extremely proud. It's an extremely, extremely good movie experience, even though it's uneven.
Well, it's kind of ridiculous that movies cost as much as they do.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, he spent most of his money going to places to shoot, right? Gareth Edwards is like going to whatever, the Philippines, or Thailand or whatever it was, shooting in the real world, in real places, and letting that be the production value. Then I'm designing the visuals around these things and integrating the visuals with the natural landscape and the real buildings that are here. Right. And so it looks 100 times better than anything that Marvel has ever made. Whereas Marvel, man, it's like, how many fights at an airport can you have? like it's just ridiculous. Let's have a fight on a giant concrete tarmac again. Meanwhile, you look at the creator, it's just breathtaking. I really think
we should do a podcast where we focus exactly what you're talking about, but go and pick a representative film that, like Towering Inferno, and then for the 80s, a representative film, and we do 4, or at least back to the 2000s. A few films, and how do they hold up? And is it important to, like Stealth, other things? Is it important to have great visuals? And
Stealth didn't have great visuals.
No, but the point is, it was with a director that I liked, but he didn't understand CG as far as I could tell. But the point is, it was just the studio's vision was to have something sexy and not worry about the story.
Right.
But at the end, a lot of that stuff hold up.
Flash Gordon. We did do Flash Gordon, actually.
I look at some of these movies that like I was part of, and so much of the stuff doesn't hold up, not just story-wise, but visually.
Yep.
So then you have to reassess, like, do we have to make every reflection perfect? Like Speed Racer.
Is that contributing to the movie?
The Speed Racer problem is hilarious. Right. That's a really good example of like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Like these like, is it really? I mean, like the thing is, like, I love when there's crazy detail or weird little flourishes that you can discover. It should be the last thing I notice. It should absolutely be the last thing I notice. I should be watching a movie and be swept up in the movie, and then 30 viewings later, I go, "Oh shit! Did you notice the little thing they did? That's crazy."
Okay. So I strongly believe that it is you're absolutely right, Eric. There's a way that certain people get so caught up in it needs to be unless I pixel fuck the shit out of it, it's not going to be perfect.
Sure.
Right. And for example, on Day After Tomorrow, the VFX supervisor, was having us do turntables of hailstones.
You realize that those are going to be on screen very briefly.
Right. And motion blurred to hell.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And so that was like, and I was like, that, because her belief was that, unless this is all fucking crazy pixel fucked, I need to do this to get nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
And realizing that she didn't have an eye that was good. Mm-hmm. Right. So that was the only thing that she could do. But yeah, it's not correct. And you look at this film, like, look how much she got away with. Yeah.
Like, that is knowing what your movie is, man. Like first of all, the design overall, the architecture of Godzilla Minus One is excellent because, on both the physical production side and the CG side, it's very, very tightly constructed. Like, they know they only have so much budget for CG. So they spend most of their time building up to a great big scene, and then they make a really tight, very thrilling, like, knock your socks off event, and then they bring it back down to the physical real world again.
But that's the thing, right?
The physical real world
is rich with character.
Well, that's what, like, they don't, like, the thing is, like, when they're doing the physical world story, when they're doing the physical world story, they're either using like great production value from very real places, or they have very limited but beautifully constructed sets, like the firebombing of Tokyo set, which they use a hell of a lot of.
Yeah,
and then they put in that set good actors and great drama. And so you're watching something you want to watch. Like, if you didn't have Godzilla attack in that movie, you're still watching a good movie. Right? So everything is I mean, the movie is $15 million because there's VFX. Well, if you take out the VFX and you take out the Godzilla, then you're watching a $1 million movie that's a really good movie. Right? And that's because, like, that's what makes it a great monster movie. It isn't the CG on Godzilla. That's the icing on the cake. It's the fact that by the time that you get to the Godzilla scene, you give a shit about what's happening.
Well,
that's it.
It's about character development.
That's what I'm saying.
It's about that guy, right?
Yeah, like, you care about this dude. You care about his struggle. You care about what is happening. And then Godzilla attacks and you're like, oh my God. And you're invested. That's what the movie is. Right. It's not wowing you with CG. It's just delivering what it promised.
Well, I think they're also confusing it with, I think, maybe some of the shifts that are happening and executives look at. It's the rise of video games. So they're looking at that, saying the visuals here, because they don't understand the story aspect of the video games, maybe. Mm-hmm. And we have to compete with those kind of strong visuals in that world. And so they just say, let's do it this way.
Right. When in fact, like, video games, AAA video games are struggling because AAA video games, just like with Avengers movies, are starting to all look the same because they're all using the same engine and all aiming at photorealism and having no actual artistic design or real game design or story writing. And the ones that are doing really, really well are indie things that spend all of their time on good storytelling, good writing, and great game design. Like, I mean, the game of the year this year was Baldur's Gate 3, which is an independent game. Like, it's an incredibly deeply written, like, monstrously large game, right? Made by an indie studio. And they took years and years to make it because they're small. As opposed to, like, whatever, when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, that game is going to cost nearly $1 billion
That's so nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a great game. I don't know.
They'll make that money back.
But they'll make that money, and they'll make that money back for sure. But like the amount of craft that, in order for the game to be good, you must put in the work. And most games don't do that. Most AAA games don't do that. Most AAA movies don't do that. That's why they suffer at the box office now.
Huh.
Now you look at Disney's run this year. Disney's run is legendarily bad this year.
It's unbelievable.
This is their 100th year in business, and it's the worst year of business they've ever had.
You know, it's ironic. It's like last year, Bob Iger's biography came out.
Yeah.
It's like, what a wonderful ride. Or what a crazy ride or something like that.
What a crazy ride. Yeah.
I was like, oh, this title.
He should have just retired.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Sad.
Like all of that stuff they churned out, is such...
I really thought that I thought he was brighter than that, but I
yes,
don't know.
So did I.
It's hard to say. Yeah. But because I'm one of the sole defenders of the new Indiana Jones movie
I like it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good little movie. It should not have cost nearly $400 million.
Really?
I mean, 350, something like that, right? I'm just like, that's a sweet little movie. Like, it's a pretty good story that riffs on Raiders of the Lost Ark and has a great central performance, and it's very likable. It's a very nice. I'm glad that I saw it. I saw it a couple of times, and I thought it was good. I was happier with that than the other indie movies. I was like, this is a perfectly good little coda. It's now obviously not going to be ever as good as Raiders.
Than the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the movies in between Raiders and this. There are a couple. They have great scenes, but they're not particularly great movies. Even though Spielberg directs the hell out of some of the scenes in those movies, but they're not great.
I like
movies.
Crusade.
Crusade's pretty fun. Yeah, it's pretty fun. But this is like a good little TV movie that you go, oh, that was nice, unexpectedly nice. But for $350 million, who the fuck was running the ship on that thing? Like, good Lord, how did that?
People who don't want to say no, they just want to climb the ranks.
That's wild. You compare the gratification, like the happiness factor of walking into the theater of that movie versus the happiness factor of walking out of Godzilla Minus One, right? I liked Godzilla Minus One better, and it cost $335 million less. Like, that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
That's insane. Okay, I think we need to go through the story, even though this movie is still in theaters. This is rare that we do movies that are still in theaters, but we're going to go over the plot of this because I think it's critical. The character development on this was fabulous.
Yeah, it's true.
And not necessarily, a complicated thing. It's pretty straightforward, but really well
it's just
done.
good emotions.
Good emotional stuff.
Right.
Who in the chat has not seen it, just to let us know, but we're gonna dive into this, and apologies if you haven't seen it yet, but it's really good. Eric, do you want to start us off? Where does this movie start? Like, Don't
have me start off.
Don't have you start off? Okay.
You take it this time, Chris.
I will do the beginning part, and then you guys So it starts off World War II, end of World War II, very end of World War II, right? And a pilot lands on this small island, right? And it turns out that he is a kamikaze pilot. Mm-hmm. And he said something's wrong with his plane.
Nothing's wrong with his plane.
Nothing's wrong with his plane. The island is an island where kamikaze pilots get their planes fixed, the mechanics.
Yep. Right.
They get angry at him, realizing he probably just didn't go through with his mission.
Right. He didn't have the courage to die in his mission. He made up something, and now he's
which there. Also has, you can sense the Japanese, the great shame of cowardice. Right. It's very shameful. Very, very shameful what he did.
Thanks for coming, Dave. 3D. He has to bow because he doesn't want any spoilers. I understand. Thanks very much.
And he is very shamed by what he had done, but he doesn't admit it either.
Right.
And he then the lead mechanic is kind of questioning him, like sort of looking at him cockeyed, right? And then as they're on the island and he sort of walks off at night, he hears the noise, right? And there's a big Godzilla attack, except not.
He notices fish first, though.
Oh, right, the fish. Thank you. He notices a bunch of fish that are rising. Now, I don't know. I don't know. You guys don't know much about deep sea fishing, but that the fish with their swim bladders sticking out of their mouth. Mm-hmm. That's what happens when you take a fish from very deep water and you bring them up to the surface very quickly. Their swim bladders swell up like that. Right. So that was a very specific look to it. So those are deep water fish that have died suddenly and are surfaced up. And so he sees those fish, a bunch of those fish out there, and then there's a Godzilla attack. Now, the thing that's interesting is that the Godzilla was not particularly, he was big, but not the size of Godzilla that's like...
He's like little Godzilla.
He's like little Godzilla, right?
Right. He's very big.
He's
more
big.
like he's dinosaur big.
He's dinosaur big, not Godzilla big.
Right.
Yeah. And he is attacking people. People are trying to run away. And then our pilot is kind of cowarding, and one of the mechanics says, "You go to your airplane and use the 20 millimeter gun, right?
Yeah, because
that's the only gun that can do anything."
Right.
And he doesn't want to go because there's a Godzilla attack, but he does go. Mm-hmm. And then when Godzilla is in his sights where he can shoot him, he freezes and doesn't kill him.
He fails again.
The
shame is tremendous.
Yes. Stomps on a bunch of people and kills them.
Kills everybody.
Kills everyone. And he survives on his airplane, but no one else lives except for him and the mechanic, pretty much. Like, there are only 2 people left alive. And the mechanic is like, "You killed them all."
Yeah.
Right.
And it was really like horrific. Like, the guy's like the shame of what he's done, right?
Right.
Really, really bad. So he ends up leaving and goes back to his town.
Yep. Which is leveled
from the war.
Absolutely destroyed by the war. If anyone wants to know, I mean, everyone's very familiar, obviously, with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but if you don't know about, say, the firebombing of Tokyo, which is arguably even worse than either Hiroshima or Nagasaki, that is something you might want to look up before you see this movie, because it has a deep connection here. It's very sad.
Right. Very sad.
Totally horrific.
And his neighbor, he goes to his house, where his house is, and he sees his neighbor, and he says, "Where is my mother and father?" And the neighbor tells him, "They died," as did my kids.
Yep. As did 60% of everybody.
What are you doing here? Aren't you a kamikaze pilot?
I thought you were a kamikaze pilot, and you're not dead.
And you're not,
Right.
So basically, again,
you have failed to protect this. This is why they're dead. Is the theme, right?
Right.
And really, so this guy is guilt-ridden.
Yeah.
Horribly
and
so.
Serious outcast.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Setting up the emotional goals of the film.
Right.
Like, this guy needs to make that right in his heart. That's what the movie is setting up. Like, he needs forgiveness.
He doesn't even need. He
doesn't realize it yet, though.
Yes.
He doesn't exactly. Right. He doesn't realize it yet. He doesn't try to redeem himself.
He's just totally traumatized at this point.
He's trying to just survive, even with his own shame.
Right. He just trying to make it day to day.
Day to day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Day to day.
And then there's he sees a baby.
Well, no. He's in a market, right?
He's in a market. Yep.
And there's a woman running.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I guess she stole something or did something.
Right.
And she bumps into him, hands him a baby, and runs away.
Hands him a baby and runs away. And he's left taking care of this baby till she gets back, and she's not coming back.
He's looking around. Where is she? Where is she? She's not getting back. She's not getting back. And so he starts walking away with this baby, and she's been waiting around the corner the whole time for him. It's like, it's about time you got here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why didn't you guys I'm not going to go out in public.
I'll get caught. Good job taking care of the baby.
and then he says, and it turns out it's not her baby either.
Yeah. It's just another orphan.
It's another orphan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was some people that were handed her the baby, asked her to take care of it, and then they got killed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a baby and a man and a woman, but none of them are related to each other.
And they end up living together.
All three of them.
Right. And it's this weird little, formed family.
And the neighbor is like, yeah, wait, none of them are related?
Yeah, and the neighbor totally resents him and fucking hates his ass.
Yeah, the neighbor hates him.
But still helps because of the baby.
Because of the baby. Yeah.
I love the neighbor. The neighbor character is one of my favorite characters in the movie. I think she's absolutely fucking
She's
perfect.
really great. Yeah, she's really great because she's not, even though she's angry at him, she's morally responsible.
Yes. Right. She's like, you can't just leave this poor baby to fucking hang. Like, I will take care of that. I'll help you take care of the baby. God damn it.
The baby's adorable.
The baby's adorable. First,
as a baby, and then as a
making right story
toddler.
choices, man. You got the main character suffering horrible guilt and trauma. You got the orphan baby. You got I'm so you don't even need Godzilla in this movie anymore.
No.
I'm already on board.
No. Just that dynamic.
That's the
between those
thing.
characters,
It
right?
really was.
Yeah.
That's the key. They put less monster and more story.
Yeah, like at this point I'm watching, and this sounds like an exaggeration, but like at least plot wise, I'm watching a Kurosawa style story. Like this is characters having a hard time. This is what it's about. This is why I'm sucked in. And this goes on for quite some time. And there's a big Godzilla attack that we described in the beginning, but then you're in like survival drama for half an hour at least, 40 minutes
at least. Yeah. At least. And
you feel bad for the guy, but you can see why people are mad, and yeah, it's great.
And then he needs to make ends meet, right? So he needs now he's got responsibility for this family somehow, right? Got to take care of things. So he ends up getting a job, and it's a job of picking up mines.
Yep. And this is sort of like this is a great yeah, right. And it's a great way to underscore his sense of culpability and shame, because he's willing to take this job where he can likely be killed, because he's willing to do this because he has to do it, but also because he might be killed in a semi-heroic way. Like that's the unconscious thing that's happening for him. Like he's like,
it seems like it'll redeem his cowardice.
Yeah, if I get blown up doing this, I had it coming. I should have been blown up doing the other thing.
Right. But it also is the first step of him redeeming himself,
yes,
because he shoots properly with the gun.
Yes. And he is like, the fact that he even chooses to do this means that he wants to be redeemed.
Right. And also, what's also interesting is that the girl was like, you can't do this job. You can't risk your life.
Right. You got a fucking family now.
That you're responsible for.
Exactly. And this is where the movie
becomes...
Which
he doesn't really have a family either, which is also odd.
This is the beauty
really
of the movie.
It's
right, exactly.
Imagined. Not imagined. It's conveniently, it's
I mean, it's cobbled together.
Assembled. Yeah.
It's a found family movie, not
isn't that the psyche of the Japanese people after the war?
This is what I was going to bring up. Is like, this is what's really fascinating, is that the movie actually becomes very emotionally complex in a way that, because like the setup is a very sort of traditional 40s style movie about responsibility, but because they're not really direct family members, and because like he is attempting to achieve some sort of redemption without like being overt about it, like it enters into a kind of complexity where it's like, wait, like I'm looking for redemption, but I'm risking my family when I was caring for those people, which is the better thing to be doing. So it becomes like it becomes a ethically and morally complex setup without over talking it. Like it's just a really, really clever way to put these themes in your lap.
There's also a style to the acting and possibly directing that resonated a lot of anime style.
Totally anime. I was going to bring this up. Yes, absolutely true. Totally
the
true.
acting is emotions are big, but totally not over the top.
But this
they are over the top, but it's not like awkward to watch.
Right. This kind of, because like anime is obviously anime is huge all over the world now. Like it's like younger generations. It's gone way beyond Japan. Like it's just this is what American younger generations are. Like that's the kind of storytelling they're into. That's the look they like. But it's like the thing that's great about anime is that it really is interested primarily in complex character interaction, like long-term complex character interactions.
That's their main motivation,
right? And this has to do with what we were saying earlier. Is that the reason why there's such a heavy focus on that in terms of anime as a process is because animation, like actually having things move on screen, is expensive, but having people sit and talk in a still shot with only their mouths have to do this, that's cheaper. And so anime slowly grew to be more character-based just so it could fill out the time. Mm-hmm. Right?
They get paid by frame, by seconds of animation. So so if you can do it all with one image, which is why they have those things where the character just goes
exactly
across the screen.
Or and you'll have like a single shot where it's just the character's eyes and you hear them talking for 2 minutes. Right. You know? Like this is like it's a money-saving tactic to get a lot of extra time into a story, right? And you have to be really visually inventive to get around it. And as a side effect, you're also telling a lot of detailed character story. And so anime has developed in this really, really interesting way.
Which is funny because Hanna-Barbera did that too, but they didn't develop.
They went the other way. They went the other way.
God.
Yeah, but I mean, like that. It's interesting that anime has been a sort of a crock pot for great story.
Crockpot.
And it's entirely because of financial considerations.
Crockpot Studios. Yeah. Hello, can I help you?
Exactly. Like
Mr. Thorne is not in right now. Can I take a message? Hold on 1 second, please. Hello, Crockpot Studios.
Part of the reason that younger audiences, and I think this is terrific, that younger generations are so fascinated with character story and rich, really intricate character story.
Good sign.
Which is really good. Like, and it's really healthy as far as storytelling goes. Is because of the limitations put technologically on the fiction that was being produced. And so it comes back around with visual effects where you're just like, we need to deliver a monster movie, but we ain't got no money. So what do we got to depend on? Story. Yeah. And now here we are again. So we end up with a great story.
Scripts are cheaper than visual effects.
Scripts are cheaper. Great scripts are guaranteed moneymakers compared to just a pile of effects.
Yeah. I don't know how they got that so wrong.
No, brother, I tell you.
It's because the moneymakers can't see it, right?
Yeah.
And see what? They just like whistles and bangs and visual effects is that. It's stuff they understand, but they actually don't understand anything. But it makes them sound great.
They think popcorn movies make more money, right? That's their thing. And so,
that's what they're used to.
Right.
That's because they're at the age now where they were like Jaws was their thing when they were in college.
But Jaws is a good movie.
Jaws is a great fucking movie. That's why it made money.
But let me clarify that for you guys. Jaws was a thing, the blockbuster, the money, the people coming in, Barry Diller. You know, that was the thing that inspired them probably to produce. So they just that's
all the dollar signs, When really fucking like Jaws did not make money because the puppet was so good. Like it's not a great puppet.
The
puppet sucks. The story is fucking great. The filmmaking is out of control.
Could you say that the use of tax credits help kill the visual effects industry?
No.
Interesting. It's an interesting question. What do you, expound on that. I'm interested.
Well, it became almost like derivatives, like commodities. It commodified everything.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
for tax incentives,
I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but luckily not enough people watch this podcast. I have a feeling that yes, visual effects studios in places like Vancouver and London got generic as shit.
Yep.
They are just machines and they're all the same. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think that they had the same. If you go back to early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, there was culture to places like Digital Domain and ILM and Rhythm and Hues, right? And they had feelings and they had persona and there was a style to them that were very unique and special, right? Now it's like it's whatever fucking studio makes whatever fucking thing, and it doesn't matter.
But that's what I'm saying is less about it's selling of the tax credits, people shifting around. It's the commodification, like it's barley and rice.
Yes,
and all of a sudden, craft and everything else went out the door, and it became. I worked for a producer who actually would buy credits in Michigan and then sell them at an increase to other production companies. So he'd get first in, he'd buy 4 sets of credits for films and then sell 3.
Have you seen film credits recently? There's a whole section on people for tax.
That's wild.
Incentives.
But it's commodities, so they don't.
Commodities,
And so then the visual effects places are just like, yeah, we'll just jump on that. We'll make money, and that's it. And then there goes everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the issue is that films are not widgets, right? They're not. That's thinking about films as widgets is how you would get into the hole, like Disney did. Like it isn't a commodity; it's an art. It's a business, but it's an art.
It's so funny how that just imploded on them.
Oh yeah, it was entirely the wrong mindset. Yeah,
they went all in on the Marvel verse and the Star Wars verse, and those are some huge franchises that they just
that's the commodification.
Them into the ground,
figured, well, we own the license. We can take a little piece of this and put it on a cracker and sell it. Then we can take a little bit of this Star Wars and put it on a cracker and sell it. We don't really have to come up with ideas. We just need to break it all out into little bento boxes.
Yeah. Well, what it reminds me of, right, is like when we can leave the names out of it. Say certain visual effects companies bought by say other countries, like they would come to the visual effects facility and say, like, we want to buy this because you guys, like, you have such incredible technology here that does such wonderful work. And then it turns out that it's not the technology, it's the artists. And it's
they
the artists
all the time. And then the studios are constantly selling their technology. Let's say, like, for example, Digital Human. We have the.
Nobody can do it like our magic machines.
And you know what the worst word ever? The word that I just roll my eyes and slap my
CGI.
No. Secret sauce.
Secret sauce. You know what the secret sauce is?
People.
Talent.
Oh no!
I remember I was working.
The secret sauce is people.
I remember I might have told this story, but I was working at a visual effects place in Venice, and I was working with Rob Niederhorst, and he was in his bag.
Visual effects place in Venice with Rob Niederhorst. I think almost everyone on this podcast knows what you're talking about.
I wonder what they could be.
It's actually a different place.
Yes.
It's a different place. Yes. But let me get to the shape of this. And so what I want to just
with great speed. Get to the shape with speed.
Okay, speed up with this. Tell the shape of the story here. So the guy.
Some people got that joke. That's a good joke.
The guy that was running the place, I'll just give a name, Carl, and he was running the place, and he was coming through with some
Gary
IBM
Busey of visual effects.
We're coming through with he's
investors
selling, and but they were with IBM. And I just remember Rob was giving me notes on something, so I was sitting there with a pen and pad in his flame bay type or nuke bay with a big screen in front of him. He dips in and says, and these guys are working with our 3D program Max, which is proprietary, that we've written from the ground up. And
3ds Max, you guys wrote it?
Yeah, but that's what he said. And Rob looked at me, and we looked back at him. But the IBM guys are like, I'm curious, because they're programming. So they went in, and the guy's like, we got to circle around. I got more stuff to show you, so let's keep moving. He's like, I just want to see what you're doing here with the interface. And Rob's like, I was like, I got my notes. I'm heading out. I just was like,
yeah, dude.
But that was like the disconnect. And the guy was really nice. I worked for. He's a sales guy and good, but it's just like, that's the disconnect between the people who are the artists and the people running the place.
Well, exactly, because there's a weird theme in all the things that we talked about today, right? This relationship, this negative relationship, is exactly the same as audiences thinking that movies are bad because of CG. Like, it's like these people come in and say, like, how do you make such amazing effects? It must be a machine. Yeah. It's a machine. It's a magic bean machine. It doesn't have to do with these incredible talents that have worked together for years. Couldn't be that. Like, if they're working on a fucking whatever. It's a Dell 486. That's what your magic machine is. Look at that. It's strung together shitty processors. That's what your magic machine is. Yeah. People want to believe that it isn't talent and people that make the thing good because they want to make it sellable as a commodity. They want it to be numbers, which are predictable. But when it turns out that it has to be talented people who know what they're doing, they don't know how to make that into an industry, right? And so you end up with
studio
Disney.
heads don't want to be told they've been wrong this whole time,
right?
Except
exactly.
Some of them are going to lose their jobs eventually.
Like they just got like you can like
they're waiting for the golden parachute. That's all they're waiting for.
Those guys are just. I mean, that's how I felt about the strikes, right? It's like those guys they don't want to make a deal because they know it's all the fucking ship is sinking. They're just waiting for their boat to show up. They're like, yeah, cool, no, whatever you guys want, just a few more months. And then they're getting
what ship is sinking?
Like the film
industry.
The film industry, like the film industry, like everything is just like they know they're looking.
I'm just asking for clarification for everybody. I know generally we've talked about this, but broadly, the streaming television, there's a failure going on, so people are cashing out.
Yes, they're like. Turns out that streaming makes no money at all. Number one, so this is a bad investment. Studios have utterly mismanaged all of their shit.
That's not exactly true. That's not exactly true.
The way that they have been making streaming doesn't work. How about that? Right. We'll put it that way.
Right.
Like,
I mean, they have to do it more responsibly.
Yes.
It's the same. But it's the same story with any. Okay, so let me just put it this way. Streaming definitely is successful. People are more likely to watch films on streaming 100% than ever before.
True.
And people are watching a ton of stuff.
It's the new ABC television. Yes. I mean, you just turn it on like we used to watch ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Absolutely.
Studios tried to get into this business.
But what happened is they got irresponsible, right? Yes. And I think the pinnacle of irresponsibility is when Amazon spends like $1 billion doing the Lord of the Rings franchise.
But I'm circling back because I think my insight and clarity is coming through, even though I'm super tired. I had 3 hours of sleep last night.
You're doing great.
This is the commodification, meaning this is hedge fund money going. Yes. They look at like we're doing, because right now you guys know that I'm working with a commodities company.
Yes.
On designing interface for them, and I've been with them almost a year, and that's a great job. I love the team, but that's commodities, and it's just like.
And this is commodities
buy and sell grain and and copper and oil. It's the same shit.
Pork
and
bellies,
hedge funds,
like you get in a bacon.
And
the
thing is, people
sandwich.
come into this. The hedge funds give money to these, and said that's the way to do it. The hedge fund money.
Right. Well, the thing is because like the reason why commodities work is because commodities are always the same, and people always need them. That's why they work. They're interchangeable. They're fungible is the word, right? Whereas when you're making movies, that isn't the case. Like
I know, but here's the deal. It also is all of those commodities are based on.
You should sell them as tokens.
Exactly.
All those commodities are based on things like Mother Nature.
Yes.
Are the crops going to be grown? Is there enough oil? Is there a war in that region where we can't extract oil?
Very
Are they blocking the Red Sea?
Things.
Yes, which is very fluid, but it is not as easy as you think. And when you start taking vision and an artist's work or a writer director and start making it like a commodity,
doesn't work. It's not the same thing.
I have a feeling a lot of other streaming companies are trying to backpedal out of this kind of Netflix model because it seems like they just hijacked it and like, oh wait.
Right. Well, this didn't work out for. I mean, like it works out for Netflix. Like in Netflix, like the reason it seems like the reason why Netflix has been hiding its numbers for so long is it seems like they were trying to get a lot of other people into the game that they know that those people would lose money on.
You think they set them up?
I think it's a setup. And so and I think it's been pretty successful because you look what happens to like Max or formerly HBO or formerly whatever the fuck it's called, Discovery/Filmstruck, like that ongoing burning circus is.
Yeah, but that is ineptitude by Zaslav.
It's
insane. They owe
so
much money. They are so
it's the
far
same
in debt.
thinking. It's the same thinking. They don't realize they're not thinking about this as like.
No, he's thinking that as a commodity. You're absolutely right.
It's a commodity.
He's thinking about it like, oh, no. We're going to get out of streaming. We're going to go back to selling licensing, right?
Yes, right.
That's what just so you guys know, I'm not an executive, but when they came out with Paramount Plus, and my house is down the street from Paramount when I lived in LA, I was like, why are they trying to build a streaming service? Why don't they just basically license all their shit to Netflix?
Yeah, right.
Well, that's what they used to do.
Right.
So they all used to do that. Even Disney used to license its stuff to Netflix, and then they're like, you know what? We should make our own. We'll make more money. It turns out that was a big mistake.
No, because all you had to do is look at the reports, the investor reports on Netflix. They were holding a lot of debt. Are you willing to assume debt?
This Netflix's plan, Netflix's entire business plan is, and it's a good one, last man standing. That's it. That's it. They're like, everybody else dies. We own the market. That's how we win. And they're doing it. They're doing it very, very well. And because they know, you look at what Netflix's model is, in terms of what they're putting on their services, it's television. That is good, straightforward, mid-70s, shitty, battle beyond the network stars television. There's no good stuff on Netflix. There's shit you watch at the end of the day on Netflix. I'm tired and I want to put on this dating show.
And then they do stuff.
Yeah,
they put the killers out. They put Blonde out.
I'm not. That's of course. But the same is true for 70s TV. There's Shogun. There's Dallas. Here's the top-notch fucking Roots. This is it. That's your Irishman and Killer and all that shit.
I love the fact that miniseries are coming back. They're doing Shogun again.
They're doing Shogun. It looks fucking great too. I love it. I can't wait. Great cast. Looks awesome. Love that book. It's incredible. But this is the thing: is those the 10 or 11 unbelievably fantastic things that Netflix has done in terms of giving artists free reign to go and make real art. Those are wonderful.
That's 70s.
That is.
You guys just do your thing.
Do your fucking thing. Meanwhile, everything, the other 99.9% of Netflix is raw, consumable trash. And what I mean by that is that's what we want. It's like fucking buying food at the gas station. It's like aisle after aisle of Doritos. That's what we want. That's what we want. That's their business. And it's a great business because we want that.
I don't know how often I come home and Brooklyn Nine-Nine is just on TV. And no one's watching it.
It doesn't matter. Just let it play, man. Frasier, whatever. Just fucking have it, man. Just, give me the shitty thing.
That was the thing, right?
What's the thing?
There was there was a specific model that Netflix had. They're like, come for Stranger Things, stay for Frasier.
Stay for Frasier. That's their model.
So they actually make way. So what was the number one show on Disney Plus when it came out?
I got it. It's Deborah Lee's Loving Home.
Loving Home.
No. The Simpsons.
Really?
The Simpsons, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So that people were going there to go watch the brand new, I don't know, Marvel. What's the one with the WandaVision? They had WandaVision. They see the one episode of WandaVision. Aha! Mm-hmm. Lasts them 1 hour of watching, and then they just put on Simpsons.
Let the Simpsons roll.
on for 7 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
That is
because you win. This has been well, it's no longer the case, but it was the battle of the living room, right?
Yeah.
So what was Netflix saying when they said, who is our biggest competitor?
Fortnite.
Fortnite is their biggest competitor.
Right,
Whoever controls the screen.
Whoever controls the screen. That's right. That's right.
And Fortnite is controlling the screen more than HBO Max is.
That's right. because HBO Max has no identity for what they show whatsoever. It's like it's a car crash of stuff.
It used to have identity. It used to be the number one.
It used to be HBO.
It used to be HBO.
Yeah. You knew what HBO
that was.
was.
Elite. That was a beautiful elite product brand.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and HBO was never going to be enormous. It was just going to be prestige. And it was a solid performing thing.
It was like what's it called again? Weinstein's company.
Yeah.
Miramax.
Yeah, like that is a particular market that you're trying to film.
Miramax at its height, the same kind of prestige.
Yeah, like this is
now A52, A24,
A24, right? Same difference. Like the thing is that HBO is never
awesome.
Yes, but A24
DiCaprio's company, right?
A24 is that I don't know if is DiCaprio on that. I don't know.
Is it DiCaprio's company?
I thought that is Albion. I can't remember what it is, but anyway, like he may be in it. I'm not sure, but anyway, like A24 is the prestige business. They are now their upcoming slate. They're trying to get into big, expensive action movie stuff, and I'm like, okay,
watch out,
but be careful.
Don't get tempted.
Yeah, because like that's not your market, and if you try to, I mean, it may work for them, and it's happened before, but that's a big risk. And with HBO had developed such an incredible prestige library, they could have been there forever. Right. But instead, one day it turned into, I turned on HBO and the whole front page is shitty house flipping shows.
Yeah, because of
Discovery, because of Zaslav. And I'm like, this is not what I pay for. Like, I'm not here to see this.
Discovery shows make a ton of money because that's all that's on at fucking dentist offices.
Of course. But like trying to turn HBO into Netflix is a bad idea. Netflix is the one that you watch for shitty things. That's what it's there for.
I knew this episode of Godzilla Minus One was mainly going to be about the industry, which is fine.
Yeah. But like this is
but it is telling because I mean honestly, this movie is the model of what people need to be looking at right now.
Yes. Like this is the deal. It's like Godzilla Minus One is representative of the kind of movies because like to answer your question from before, Eric, like Disney forgot what they were doing, right? Disney forgot what they were there for. Disney tried to turn into Netflix, and Netflix makes garbage. That's what Netflix's business model is, and I know that it's successful because I watch garbage. I want to watch garbage. There's a huge slot in my life for garbage, and I want it. Just like I want Doritos, and Netflix is Doritos. They come in the door for Stranger Things, stay for Love is Blind. That's Dan Thron, right? And that's a huge, huge market. Disney tried to turn its movies and its franchise stuff into Netflix shows.
What I think is interesting, though, if you go back to Disney, is remember Disney came out of a hole. Right? Mm-hmm. Disney was in trouble and then they bought Pixar and Pixar turned them around, right?
Because Pixar was prestige.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Pixar is prestige material.
Right. And so actually, if you go back and watch or read the book Creativity Inc., which is a very interesting book, however, a little bittersweet considering how Ed Catmull was sued for price fixing on artists.
Right.
But nonetheless, if you look at what he did to Disney, because Disney didn't understand what it was doing, right? And they couldn't make a good movie to save their lives. Right. And then what's his name? Who's the head creative? Who had creative at Pixar? Oh
yeah, Pixar was I can't think of his name, but yes, yeah.
Yes, but he came in and he fucking saved them by redoing Tangled, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so Tangled all of a sudden was an extremely expensive movie because they had to do it essentially twice.
Yeah, but it reestablished them as a quality brand.
Thing, right? And then suddenly oh shit, this is really good. And then Disney started to make fucking good movies.
Yeah, well, because Disney has actually been through this turnaround a couple of times,
many times,
right?
Yeah. And like Disney, remember they were in a heyday in the '90s, right? They were like,
absolutely,
oh my god,
Lion They were the heyday in the 40s. They started to dive in the 50s. They were the they go up and down like this all the time.
Yeah, they went to live action in the 50s, like 20,000 Leagues.
Exactly. And they've been through this, but they've never been through it as hard as they are now, which is like
that's because they invested so much money. They're in the fucking hole.
They're in the hole. They're in the hole. And like they keep on doing, right, is they still have this mindset of just like, oh, we have this big beautiful hit that's an artistic success that everyone loves and it's an instant classic and everyone will watch it every year for 1,000,000 years. Let's make 1,000 shitty straight to DVD Walmart sequels, right? Until they drive the brand of that thing into the earth. Like that's what they did with Little Mermaid. That's what they did with Cinderella. That's what they did with all that stuff. But most of the time they were able to keep the classics separate from the giant stream of derivative shit, right? With Star Wars and Marvel, they just turned it into the derivative shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's just Walmart this fucking thing. Let's just make this into the garbage TV show.
I don't.
And it ruins the brand. I think
what's interesting is I don't think they really intended it to turn it into garbage. They just bit off way more than they can chew. Yeah. And I don't think they were ready. There was way too many executives in the room.
Yep.
And I think that they just lost sight of good story.
Yeah, they ended up destroying two of the biggest brands that film has ever seen.
Very quickly.
It
was insane how quickly it happened. Now, I know the pandemic sort of accelerated this whole thing by a lot, but it was going down either way.
Like the specialness of Marvel, the specialness of Star Wars. I mean, like Marvel, as much as I pick on it, like many of the Marvel films are excellent. Kevin Feige did an incredible job producing the original set of Marvel films. Largely, they are very good, and I can see why people like treat that as their new Star Wars. Like, it's an incredible production story, right? Star Wars itself is the same thing. It's just like it's amazing that studios saw the artistry here and invested in it the way that they did, right?
I don't think they did. I think they didn't. No one expected it to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, like back in the day, I mean, just like that was a $10 million movie that they were looking to write off, and then it exploded. But then they did invest in it with Empire Strikes Back. They're like, we are going to make a great film, and we're going to put all the money in the world behind it, and then we're going to own the world, and they did. And then they made Return of the Jedi. But regardless, Disney has taken Star Wars, Indiana Jones, fucking Marvel, all this stuff, and run it through the deflavorizing machine. I'm borrowing that joke from Tarantino's podcast. Dave Roger Avery said it, but the deflavorizing machine. And now you just have a flavorless gum that we're all expected to chew. And that's why they had the shittiest year of their lives. You have to make good movies, and you have to make them cheaply if you want to make money. And Godzilla Minus One proves that you can do that.
And it also did it in the most insulting way, because it did it on a franchise as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's not just the fact that you're taking existing IP or whatever, because this could have been completely unique IP and it still would have worked. Right.
Yeah.
It's just they did it like, no. I don't think the business guys are going to understand. They're like, it's because they had existing IP. No. It's because it had something intangible that you cannot, what is it? It's the talent is people.
The talent is people.
Quality is people, not an AI. Because look at this, like, we keep joking about AI scripts and how that's going to work. It's like, they already are AI scripts. All the Marvel shit was written by AIs.
Yeah, it's like, I kept on saying that during the strike. I was just like,
not directly, but might as well have been.
Yeah, like I kept saying that during the strike. I was just like, why are they worried about AI when you have shows like the fucking the half of the Marvel shows that are on? Like it's like I can't tell the difference.
Quantumania, trust
Quantumania. When Quantumania exists, I want AI to write the next one. It can't be any worse than that. It's impossible.
Right.
Wow.
Like, it's insane that was produced. That is the problem. Like, it's an embarrassment that movie cost that much money and was that bad. Like, and when you see Godzilla Minus One, you're like, the effects could be shittier, and this movie could have cost even less, and I would still love it. It was bargain basement prices anyway, and they could have made it cheaper, and I still would have loved it because the story is so fucking good.
It's so good.
That's it.
So
that's
let's talk about him getting on his ship.
Yes. Okay. There it is.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to get one thing to drink, guys, before we go back in. You go. You keep going.
All right. We're going to start about the ship because you have to get into this thing. But he basically gets a job as a minesweeper, right? And are looking for mines in the water. And he gets to the boat, and he's worried about like his livelihood. And he's expecting he's like, it's going to be a big, tough boat, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the most rinky-dink, shitty looking boat.
Yeah. And it's made of wood. So because they get so it doesn't attract mines.
It's made of wood. And he says the reason it's made of wood is because if it's made of metal, a lot of the mines are magnetic. And they attract to mines.
Right.
So they made
but it makes it look really rinky-dink. You're like, you okay, man?
Yeah. But it also has a very much a Jaws feeling to it, right? Like it's just like four or five people on the boat, right?
Yeah, and like this, and these characters that he joins up with are classic anime characters.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just like, like
every one of them is very unique.
And they're so much fun. Like they're such huge, like big caricature characters.
Right. But one of them is a science guy. One of them is the jokey guy. One of them is the young guy. And
it's super fun. Like they identify with them really quickly. It's the proper use of caricature, so you get on board with that story really quickly.
Right, very quickly. Like those guys are introduced, and not in a shitty way like they do harping on Marvel films, where they go around the table and everyone has their backstory told.
The worst scene I've seen in 25 years. Black Widow, the worst. Champion all time.
My story is this. My story is that. No, you just.
But here's my traumatic backstory. Please, somebody kill me. Like that's my traumatic backstory. Is this scene?
No. Yeah, you get the vibe of everyone without a huge amount of story.
Yes.
So it's really kind of. Anyway.
Yeah, it's terrific. And you understand it all in the context of what has already been shown to you. So like they don't have to go into big detail. You're like, everybody has huge trauma they're dealing with. Everyone's trying to face it in their own way. Right. And you're just trying to find something to do with your life that is meaningful right now and make connections and friendships. So it all makes sense. Like even these, like this completely mismatched bunch of characters, you see them wanting to become friends, and it's so easy to fall in love with this stuff. It's fantastic.
Right. So here's how they collect these mines. So there's the classic mines that you would see in
Gilligan's Island,
Gilligan's Island, or 20,000 Rods.
Right.
And so they go around and they basically sweep, and they find a hook, and they plop up these mines, and the mines come up to the surface, right? And so in order to detonate the mines, they use a big gun at the back of the ship and they fire at the mine, but none of them are very good at it until we get to our hero, who was the pilot, the kamikaze pilot. But because he was a kamikaze pilot and he shot guns while flying, he
knows how to shoot. Yeah.
He knows how to shoot, right? And boom, he blows up the mine. So he's like good at that gun thing. So then he finds
the gun thing.
He's good at the gun thing. So that's how they do that. Now, when they go out there, all of a sudden, who shows up? But Godzilla.
Our boy, Godzilla.
Way much bigger boy. He's
way bigger. Yeah.
Way bigger. Way. And he does this whole underwater swimming thing. Very scary. Very Jaws-like, man. It's super Jaws-like.
Yep.
Right?
And once this whole, like, the scene with Godzilla chasing the boat is... it's 100% Jaws. It's the barrel sequence from Jaws. Only the barrels are Godzilla.
Right.
And when that scientist goes against the chalkboard and goes, Shenya.
Exactly. It's so good. But man, like this, go ahead. No, it's just saying it's such a radical joy because like the movie is aware that it's Jaws.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, you love Jaws, we love Jaws, it's Godzilla, let's roll. And like and you're 100% on board. It doesn't feel silly at all. You're totally committed. You're absolutely in it.
Yeah, and his other thing is like, yes, I was actually wondering about that. The English language subtitles used the word kamikaze, but the Japanese language dialogue used the word takatai, tokotai, I believe that.
Yeah.
And so, what is tokotai? Is it different than kamikaze? Is it?
Yeah. What is the? I'm not sure what the what the actual usage in Japan.
They jump out before it explodes.
Does it really?
I just made that up, but
yeah, I don't think so.
Just
I think
made it up. Okay.
Yeah, that's
It is actually like it's a breaded pork cutlet with honsai sauce.
So good.
That I believe is shashu ramen.
It's tokatsu.
Tonkatsu is delicious.
Yes.
But yes, the Godzilla attacks. They figure out a way. Like
they figure out, they take one of the mines.
Right. They're like, this is our one shot. We're going to drop one of the mines essentially into Godzilla's mouth.
Just like the barrels. Or
the barrels and jaws. Like the air tank and jaws.
The air tank and jaws.
Right. Shoot that. Blow it up, and that'll kill Godzilla. That's their plan.
And so what happens?
They do that,
but it only blows up part of his mouth, and then
blows up half his head. Right? It's just
half his mouth.
It's huge.
Right?
It's like,
not his head, because that's kind of an important.
It should at least take him out for a while. But what is revealed is that Godzilla regrows that shit super fast.
Yeah.
Like it's his healing ability is Wolverine level.
Right.
And you're like, oh no.
Well, he also is full of radiation, right?
Yes. Yeah. Right. And so he is stunned. You know, it's a setback for Godzilla. But now he's on a rampage.
Okay. So in Japanese, thank you, this is in our chat. In Japanese, a formal term used for units carrying out suicide attacks during 1944 to 1945 is the Togobatsu Kogakitai, which literally means special attack unit, that is usually abbreviated to Tokotai.
Which I assume is a more respectful version than saying kamikaze.
I don't know.
Or I think kamikaze is like an Americanization.
It's like, you know, it's just an Americanization of the word. Who knows what it actually means. Right. Kind of like lo mein, right? It's an American.
Yeah, which has no, it's a totally made up word.
Or chow mein or whatever it is.
Chow mein, yeah. But yeah, like so like the thread that the kamikaze theme in this develops perfectly. They do it exactly right. Because it is it carries that sense of guilt and responsibility, but also a sense of transcendence at the end of the movie that we'll get to. Right. So like it's always hanging in the background that he is a kamikaze pilot who failed to live up to his obligations, but now his obligations are far more complex to his family meaning his country. And so this is a more grown-up version of what...
Kamikaze is a Japanese word. Kami means divine, kaze
divine
means wind.
There we go.
So,
thank you, Jesus. And so, Godzilla, now they realize is a danger headed towards the mainland.
Right. And radiation.
Yes. And
just like the original one.
Yes.
There is a lot of the original in this one.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And also the mentality of dealing with the shame of the war.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Really, really fascinating. And because it really is about like reconstructing things emotionally after mistakes.
Right.
I think it's like how do I go on in a way that is not just surviving, but that I can regain my sense of pride without reverting to the mistakes that I made. Mm-hmm. And it's really it's a simple and elegant way to tell this that aspect of history. I think it's really, really beautiful.
Right.
We'll get to
that was the original intention, though.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
In the movie in the 50s.
Right. Yeah, it's really beautiful. That first one is it's a genuinely scary movie. I think it's actually it's an actual horror movie in a real way. So I really recommend it. I just saw it before I went to go see this one.
This is when they go back you note the bond between him and the minesweeping team is pretty strong. Mm-hmm. They end up going together. They have to reveal the news of what they found, right? Mm-hmm. So they become kind of important figures in the new effort.
Yeah. What the fuck we're going to do? This thing is going to attack.
Yeah, and by the way, do you know this is according to my son Brady, who looked it up. You know where the title Godzilla Minus One comes from, or what it means?
No, go for it.
Origin story?
It's that after World War II, Japan was at their lowest, which is 0. And then when Godzilla came in, it was -1. It was
-1, right? Yeah,
so,
makes sense.
So that was that. I think that belief is where the title comes from. But
in the best Godzilla movies, Godzilla is a pretty complex metaphor. You know, in the first one, in Shin Godzilla, and this, like, they really understand what they're saying in their movies when they make them right, and that's something that American films have consistently failed at reproducing. That's why they struggle.
Right. Well, zombie films are about Vietnam.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's plenty of American films that get it right, but I mean, when they make like the American Godzilla movies are bad because Godzilla is not a metaphor; he's a monster.
Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead, is about consumers.
Exactly. Well, it's like
it did a good job in Shaun of the Dead of bringing that up.
Absolutely. Well. Yeah. You know, and like when you make a movie with a real idea in mind, like Star Wars is a Vietnam movie, and you know that because Lucas said so, but I also believe this because Lucas originally wrote the pitch for Apocalypse Now. Yeah. Lucas was going to direct Apocalypse Now when they were talking about going to Vietnam to film it while the Vietnam War was still going on.
Yeah. That's crazy,
that's fucking insane. Yeah. So Lucas was a daring, wild dude who had a real thing to say. It evolved into Star Wars.
I mean, come on. Look at American Graffiti, man. That's a good
He's a great filmmaker, man. He's great. And actually when I had COVID, and this is maybe because I had COVID, but I rewatched episodes 1 through 3.
That gave you COVID?
It made the idea of even rewatching them is probably a COVID idea. But rewatching those movies, they're still not good movies. They're a mess. However, I was like, these things are made by an artist with something to say. They're a clunky mess. However, he really has something he wants to get off his chest, and you really feel the passion behind those
As opposed to what J.J. Abrams is doing?
Yes. Like the new movies...
He was the big darling, J.J. Abrams.
J.J. is an incredibly skilled director. I totally agree with that. I think he's a very, very talented guy. But J.J. has not. I say it like I know him. J.J. Me and J.J.
Yeah.
But J.J.'s flaw, and I've brought this up on the show before, is that he gave that TED talk about his storytelling. It's like, because every story should have a black box in the center, and that's the mystery box, and you don't need to know what's in that mystery box, but that's what sews it all. I'm like, JJ, you need to know what's in the mystery box. The audience doesn't need to know, but you need to know. And that's the one thing he gets wrong. It's like, he's like, as long as there's a mystery, then it's fine. And like, the mystery is what you call theme. That is the hub that draws all the spokes together. And that's something that's brilliant in Godzilla Minus One, is like, there is a consistent theme that all of these threads aim at. And that's why the movie ends up being very satisfying. Whereas like when you watch, and it's true even with episodes 1 through 3 with Star Wars, with Lucas, like he has really got something he wants to say. Everything in the movie is trying to say that. It's not saying it very well, and it's all over the place, but it's still aiming at the same thing. Whereas like American Godzilla and Marvel movies forgot what they were saying. And it feels like...
Because everybody was there to make money.
Yeah, exactly. They forgot that their job is to say something. Like, that's what...
Let's leave the art to the artist.
Hold on. Think about this, right? Like, why do people go see the American Godzillas? Because of the trailer, right? They didn't go see... Godzilla Minus One was all word of mouth, and it still made $80 million.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because people want to see a good Godzilla movie. That's true. Yeah. Because it's really satisfying when you get a good Godzilla movie. But when you get a bad Godzilla movie, you get a big opening weekend, and that's it, because everyone's like, oh, it sucked. And then the word of mouth is bad, and the sales go out the window.
That's why they only care about the trailer.
Yep, that's it. Trailers are designed to get you in for the opening week. Yep.
The thumbnail.
Well, and like we've talked about this before, like the way that the movie studio releasing and how studios make money vis-a-vis movie theaters is designed around the opening weekend, because you make the trailer, get everybody in for the opening weekend, that's where you get all your money, and then after that you have to start handing more money to the theater, like the percentages get reversed.
It's after 3 weeks.
After 3 weeks, you want that movie to be out of there, and you want to fill it with a new movie that turns over the fresh new stuff.
It's literally designed to be shitty movie.
It encourages shitty filmmaking, and that's a bad deal.
Big spend, shitty movie.
Yeah. It's all about the trailer.
That's a production company name.
Big spend, shitty movie.
Hello, big spend, shitty movie.
What's the Japanese for that? Well, that's our name. But but with Godzilla, like, you are hooked because everyone in the movie is essentially telling the same thematic story, whether it's large scale or small scale. Everyone's wrestling with the same basic thing in different ways, and that's why it ends up being extremely compelling as they start to help each other solve these emotional issues. So Godzilla is about to attack the mainland, and they have become
so they're planning how to defend themselves against Godzilla, because they know he's about to attack mainland. They set up these buoy warning systems that is triggered by radiation, and that's when they know how he's coming. But while that's happening in his little family nest, the girl is growing up, and he's starting to succeed as a minesweeper. So he has a little better life, a little better house. They're starting to come out from literally living under grovel, rubble. And the little girl is growing up. She's a toddler now. She's starting to talk. The woman is helping her, and the woman is being very sweet. And you can tell that she is falling in love with him.
Yeah, it's a real family now.
But he can't accept any responsibility for family. Like, he cannot bond with them because he feels
guilt.
He feels guilt.
Yeah, he feels total guilt. Yeah.
So he is not able to do that. And then, like, he has all of his friends over for the Minesweeper for dinner, and they're like, "This is not my wife. I'm not your father." Like, kind of like, well, it's a little very awkward moments, but it were good. It was like,
it's painful because you see his struggle. Like, he wants this to be true, but he can't admit it to be true because he is too guilty. He does not deserve this.
Right.
Like, he doesn't deserve what he already has. Is a very powerful character tipping point, and it makes you really want him to realize what he has, right? And that's why when Godzilla attacks, it's about making him realize what he has lost.
Right. Well, yes, but but what ends up happening is it's so sad, right? Like,
this is what I'm saying. It's like he's about to lose something and realize how much it meant to him.
Yes. And so what ends up happening is that, he's with the girl who's with him. She says, well, I got a job at an office, and she's very proud of her. She's all dressed up to go to the office. It's like, you need to find yourself a wife. You've been not doing that for a long time. Right.
Right.
And he's like, and he realizes he's like, I need to do something to commit to her. And then they ended up together in town, and that's when Godzilla ends up attacking
the train
and attacks her on the train. She's on the train. It's very, very scary on the train.
This is my favorite sequence in the movie in terms of
I love that sequence.
Because it is
insane.
But it's also a typical thing that they did in the original Godzilla, where he's attacking a miniature, right?
And it's the train attack from the original one. Yeah, it's like it's an echo of that, but it's fucking great. Like, it's just great.
Yeah. And she ends up getting out of there alive, barely.
Yep.
She ends up falling from the train into the water. Thank goodness, that saves her fall.
Sequence.
Great sequence. And they end up running together into town.
Mm-hmm.
And Godzilla suddenly does this thing where he blows this energy ball out of it. I don't want to say fire, because it's not fire, right? It's supposed to be like this
laser kind of
laser beam, it's like craziness.
Like, I love the way that this new edition where it's like he's cocking the gun, like he has all of his spikes go ding 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 ding, and you can see the power bar is rising.
It's like charging
up, right?
Yeah.
And when it gets to that point, that's when the fucking new nuke is going to go off, right?
It's like
that's
a nuclear bomb. It's like a nuclear explosion
right? Out of his mouth.
And so it comes out, and then this massive explosive wind comes out, which is very reminiscent of the nuclear bomb.
It's 100% Hiroshima.
Hiroshima, right?
Right.
And she grabs him and pushes him into an alley.
She saves his life.
And she's blown away off screen.
Right.
It is crazy looking.
Yeah, this whole sequence is so both the action is great and the tragedy is enormous.
Yeah,
it's just like it's every emotion you want in a single sequence. It's just incredible.
Yeah,
and so like this is what I'm saying. It's like he like in the previous scene he is just like he is saying he has it all. He has a family, and he's saying I do not deserve I do not deserve this family, and so she is taken away from him, and he realizes the family he had. Like he's suddenly like, I can't believe I've lost this. He didn't even realize he had it until it was gone.
Right. And so they need to figure out how to get Godzilla. And in fact, they realize that one of the things they have a plan on how to trap him. They need to trap him in a location, and they're going to literally move these boats around him to surround him with these buoys using this special gas that sinks him, right? And their idea is that they can sink him to the bottom of the ocean, and he will die from the pressure of the ocean.
Which is a great sort of vamp on the original Godzilla's the oxygen destroyer that kills Godzilla in the first one.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, so that was the whole, it's very, very, very reminiscent of this one. Yep. And then they do that to try to plan it up. But then what they need is an airplane. And then an airplane to distract them, much like a King Kong situation, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're like, oh, well, you're the pilot. You know how to fly a plane.
Yeah, to do it, yeah.
And so they need an airplane to fly, and all the planes they have is shitty, except that they have this one airplane, which is a weird prototype, which is a cool-looking plane, but very...
Yeah, it's like a fucking Star Wars plane.
It looked like the plane that John Denver flew.
Oh, really? Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool-looking plane, no doubt about it. It's got the propeller in the back. It's got this whole, like, very, very slick, futuristic...
funky-looking, weird... It looked like a prototype or a concept plane of some kind.
Yeah,
right?
It looks like a science fiction spaceship from the 50s.
Right.
You know, it's a really, really cool looking plane.
I'm putting it in Twitch. You guys tell me. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the one that killed John Denver.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah. It's the same kind of thing. Yeah, that's right. Same kind of deal.
Yeah, similar.
Experimental aircraft right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he's the guy to fly that thing.
Right. So again, like you said, he's the guy to fly that thing. But they don't know how to get it up and running. And they need a mechanic to do it.
He's like, I know a mechanic who hates my ass.
Who hates me. Right. And he finds him.
The guy who in the beginning was like, you got everyone killed, you goddamn. And now like that guy who resents him profoundly for not firing the gun that could have saved all the men in the opening scene. So in terms of story,
he writes him a million letters.
So in terms of story, this character is iconic of his guilt. Like
he's the cross that he bears.
This guy is his own guilt and anger at himself made into a physical person, right? And so this, not to give anything away, but the reason why you have this character is because if that character changes his opinion of you, then you have truly changed. Like,
right.
And so when this guy fucking hates him.
Right.
Yeah, like, I will never forgive you. That's what his stance is.
Right. And so for our hero, he's like, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to do it right by that guy. Because if that guy forgives me,
then I truly deserve to be forgiven.
Then I truly deserve to be forgiven. Right. So they plan out everything that they're going to do, and they try to figure out how to make it all work. He realizes that he probably has to kamikaze this plane.
Yep.
Right.
Of course, because this is the story that's being told.
Right. And it's like if all shit goes wrong, and we sink him and we float him and he still survives, I got to fly this plane and fucking blow him up, the kamikaze, right?
And so no, this is how deftly designed this story has been emotionally, because in the beginning, right, he feels selfish guilt that is motivating him, right? And but because he has this family that he loses
now, all he has is the baby.
Now he is the reason why he is sacrificing himself is not because he wants to feel better about himself. Mm-hmm. It's because he wants to protect his daughter.
Right.
I will sacrifice myself. I'm willing to sacrifice myself because of the new generation. That is my responsibility. Right. This is someone I love who must live in a future that I must protect. Right. I will sacrifice myself because of this.
And so before he goes on this thing, he leaves an envelope with the baby with all of his money.
Yes.
And the baby, the toddler, goes to the neighbor. The neighbor watches over the baby during the day. Then she goes, "This is from Daddy," and looks at it, and it's all this money. So he's like, what?
And the thing is,
it's the realization.
The next door neighbor, who also hates him, right, is like
all of a sudden changed on him.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's the first step in understanding that this guy has grown. And because the thing is, if this dude was going to kamikaze himself simply to get himself forgiven, that's a selfish act. Right. That's not actually a satisfying arc. It is a satisfying arc that that she understands.
He has something to live for and something to die for.
He has something to die for. That makes it a powerful story. Yeah. And that's not even the whole story.
That's not even the whole story. So he goes and he sees all the plane, and then the guy goes to the plane. It's like, he explains to him, here's how many rounds of things. This is filled with explosives. Tons of explosives in this plane.
Right.
And you're like, oh God, right?
Yep.
So he goes around with the plane and he's shooting at Godzilla to distract him, right? Who's on land, by the way, and convinces Godzilla to go back into the ocean.
Lures him out
so that he can get surrounded by the boats that got this whole plan to sink him, right?
Right.
And it's pretty terrifying, watching it happen.
And everything goes wrong.
Of course. So, it goes right, except it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Everything that does not work.
Yeah.
And it's up to him to fucking follow through. Right.
Right.
And so Godzilla is winding up. You can see the spines go click, click, click. And he's loading up the power bar. He's charging up. And you're like, this is it, dudes. Everybody's dead.
And it's crazy. He destroys a lot of things, and everything's gone. It's really gone pretty bad.
Yeah,
and he's about to go
horrible.
and loading up the power bars, and this is about the time that Eric's earthquake was in full tilt.
That's right, exactly.
in Japan. And for those of you who missed the beginning of the podcast, Eric watched this movie in Japan during the earthquake, and this was when the earthquake was happening. Is at this moment in the film.
The sense around experience. Yes.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And so that happened, and right as the power bar is about to go and he's about to let go, the sound cuts off and it's complete silence.
Yep. And you're like, everybody's fucked. Everybody's dead.
That was such a great sequence.
Yeah.
And you're just holding your breath like with everyone else.
Yep.
And I thought the ships going under and crashing were really great.
Oh, it's so fun, dude. It's so good. Yeah, it's all great. So much fun. That's a real blast.
And
they take you on such a ride.
Yes. So they've run over, and all of a sudden the plane comes out of nowhere and flies full tilt into Godzilla's mouth that's about to go.
Yep.
It has such an abrupt smack.
Yeah. Honk. Yeah, it's like
honk.
Right.
And and explodes.
And this time,
his whole head comes off.
His head fucking flies
but
apart.
it didn't regrow. And I was wondering what about it.
It's a little bit like he doesn't have a brain at this point, right?
Yeah, so like his brain is vaporized. So this time,
I suppose the other one is just his jaw was gone, right? But but when his brain's vaporized, who knows?
The stem of the plant has been cut, and so boom, and he falls apart into the water, and there it is. Like,
and then you're like, oh my god, and he sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
And then people from the ship say, look, they see the parachute. And
it cuts back to show.
Go ahead.
It cuts back to the last scene where the guy's like, where the mechanic guy, they're like, let's install the bomb, blah, 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 blah. And like, in the scene when you saw it, he's like, don't be a coward, right? And like, you're like, meaning don't be a coward, do the right thing, fly this thing, don't pussy out on this and fucking blow up Godzilla. Do this, right? Don't do it like you did the first time. Follow through and die is what you think he said,
right?
But in fact, what he says is, I've installed an ejection seat.
No, he says this one has an ejection seat.
This one has an ejection seat. Don't be a coward and die. Eject when you know the plane is going to hit because you have something to live for.
Right.
That's the mechanic who didn't like him.
It is so good.
So it's beyond forgiveness. It's not just like, it's okay you didn't die. It says, like you said earlier, it's not like I have something to die for. It's I have something to live for. Right. And once you turn that's tears everywhere in the audience. You can hear people crying.
It's so done.
Good. I'm emotional just talking about it. It's so good. They pull it off so well. And like when you see that, like, because I mean, in any other movie, if you haven't earned that moment, it's the corniest thing in the whole wide world. Like, oh, and he lived. Don't worry, he's fine. Now the fact that he chose this, you're like, yes,
the way that it's revealed, how he survived.
That is how to do it.
Because they actually made a point about it, talking about the kamikaze planes not having ejection seats.
Yes.
Like that was how they did those planes so that they wouldn't pussy out.
This is understanding your story because up until that moment, like everyone in the audience, including me, is thinking he has to die so that others may live. Right? You think that's the point when actually,
like Jesus.
Exactly. And you're like, oh, and it's going to be a sad but satisfying ending. And then it goes, what the fuck are you talking about? You have to live so that people will live. Like, and turns it around.
Yeah, because he's got to live for his daughter. Yeah,
God, you have responsibilities. You can't just go on a Blaze of Glory because it makes you look good.
Right.
Yeah, and then of course the hook at the end of the movie, which is also like basically a shot from the end of Jaws, by the way. But like this tremendous emotional moment that like perfect landing, right? And then of course for the closer is you see all the bits of Godzilla going down through the water, just like the exploded shark in Jaws.
Right.
And then one bit falls down, just like the fin in Jaws in the end of Jaws. And then you see it go, that one little bit goes and starts to heal, and that's the end of the movie. So you know there's gonna be
more. No. There's more to it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He runs up.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Yep, hit it.
Basically, he's told that woman who.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. How could I miss this? I forgot.
Is dead is actually alive.
Yes.
Right. So she was blown off screen from the explosion, but it turns out she
not
survived.
Killed. Yeah. And so he receives the family that he deserves, that he deserved before,
right?
But he didn't realize how much he deserved. That they deserve each other.
He thought all was lost, and when he saved himself, he was able to save his family, including the girl. And
like he is rewarded with the life that he already had, but didn't realize the value of.
Right.
And that is the recognition that he is, like, him realizing that means he gets it all back.
Right.
And like that's just terrific fucking storytelling. That's earned. Like the thing is, like, corny is corny when you don't know why you're doing that.
Sure.
Like, and but when you do it right, that's the thing that everyone wants to see. And I swear to God, there was a dude right behind me who was sobbing. He was a 58-year-old man, and he was sobbing in the end of this movie. I was like, Godzilla movie makes you cry. He's with his family and he's crying. I mean, like the kids are like, oh, it was great. And the guy's like, okay. I'm like, that's fucking good filmmaking.
You know what's funny is that there was a guy sitting next to us that was snoring.
No, sorry.
Oh, God.
That's too bad.
And during the quiet scene where everyone's like, oh, hush, you hear this guy.
It's not for everybody. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can make a grown middle-aged man cry in the theater with his family with a Godzilla movie, you have done it right.
Yeah, they did it right.
They did it right.
Yeah,
Holy
it was really
smokes. Good. But yeah, what a good movie. What a good movie. That was such a nice surprise. Like I knew it was gonna be fun, but I was like, that is fucking that's a gold standard on so many levels of production, of storytelling, of franchise, of everything.
It's not hard. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just being honest.
I'm not trying to diminish how good this movie is, but it shouldn't
be so rare.
It shouldn't be so rare, and it shouldn't be so hard, because that movie also, by the way, we're not talking about some complicated artsy movie. We're talking about
this is a crowd-pleasing
film.
Yes.
And in Japanese.
Yep. Yeah, people
and still was in droves.
Absolutely. People
went to go see this film.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I
think
the
that
subtitles weren't too, like, it wasn't too much dialogue.
Yeah.
Very simple. You know what I mean?
Like this is like
good.
Just like Jaws, this is an #1 popcorn entertainment machine
that came out of nowhere.
They just came out of nowhere. Like you're just like, all you got to do is do it right. Like when you look at
it's just there's just a machine that's built and it's changing.
Well, yeah,
these cogs are moving and things like that can't get in. Yeah. To move or be part of or jump onto the conveyor belt. So it's these outliers that are just kind of popping up saying, whoa, wait.
Well, I think it's like we've talked about it on the show before. It's the thing that produces Star Wars is the failure of the studios. Like Star Wars comes up because it's desperately needed by the time it happens. And they will
77.
In 77. Like, because like if you don't have the studio crisis of the late 60s, right? You don't get Star Wars. Like studios were in fucking terrible shape. Studios are now in terrible shape. Like Disney's like, what the fuck do we do?
There was something about when Disney bought Star Wars franchise and everything. It was almost like it was so easy. It's like it's buying like the five knife set, with a wood block. It's like it's all the knives I want in one. And it's like there's not really anything imaginative about it. It's just we'll throw a lot of money and just buy it.
I bought the magic bean machine. Is what they thought they bought. It's like when I'm gonna go and buy this visual effects company.
But
and
there was a point where studios created stuff from scratch.
Mm-hmm. It always comes around again. It always comes around. You have studios. The
one sign too is I find Yellowstone is something that is just like came built from the ground up.
And it turned into a monster franchise.
That's right. Yeah.
Like there's like what 7 shows that are all connected and all that shit. Yeah, exactly.
1883, 1886, 1895, 1897.
1973.
And the guy who does all those shows, he owns all the land and is making a shit ton of money.
Renting it out for
land. Yeah.
That guy's a great writer. It's Tyler Sheridan. He's a great writer. He wrote Sicario. He wrote what do you call it? Oh shit, what's the movie? A really good movie. But anyway, like he also wrote and directed Wind River, which is really good. Like he's very, very talented, really, really talented guy. But like that, there's a niche and he filled it. Like that's what it is. And something like Godzilla, like Godzilla Minus One, I totally agree with you guys. Like it's going to be totally misinterpreted by American studios, 100%. Like there's no way they're going to learn any valuable lesson from that thing at all.
I don't know. I think
no, they're going to say lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
No. Well, they're not. They're going to. I think they're going to know that it's special and that it's good. They're just not going to know how to replicate it.
That's what I mean.
No, they're not going to know how to replicate it. But their answer will be like Titanic answer. It's lightning in a bottle.
Right.
Okay. but so they'll just write it off like, well, it just kind of happened.
Well, yeah, because like in video games, for instance, like that game I talked about earlier, indie game called Baldur's Gate 3, right, which is game of the year, giant success, loads of money. Like other video game companies were complaining because they're just like, well, you can't expect all video games to be like that. You know, like they're like, what, good? I can expect video games that cost $70 to be good. Actually, I can. That's absolutely my right. If I'm going to spend $70, try to make a great game. That's what you should do. You know, like, yes, Baldur's Gate 3 is an outlier in terms of like they spend an enormous amount of many, many years and lots of time constructing that. But they had a qualitative bar in mind in terms of their story and gameplay that everybody else has been very lax about. And you've been more than willing to churn out the fucking, you know, the paste and let people pay $70. Like, that's why you got beat, is they made something that's worth $70. That's it. And Godzilla Minus One is doing well because it's good. That's the lesson to be learned. And the less money you spend on quality, the more money you keep. I think Eric
kind of nailed it when people started to see things as commodity, right?
Yes.
And the word that they used instead of commodity, which I know is a word that we all hate, is content.
That's it.
Content.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. If you treat it like a commodity and like content, how many contents do you have?
Yeah, exactly, dude. If you like, I wonder if there's a Google plugin like for Chrome that can change the word content to
honestly,
toothpaste.
I know a guy. I used to sleep on his couch in the 90s. I still know him. He started a studio. He's one of the big players now in town, but brilliant guy, super rich, but he's a business guy that thinks like that. I just sell him.
Yep.
It's product.
It's
and
toothpaste.
I understand that.
Toothpaste.
I understand that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you take him and you multiply that by 1,000, that's who's running. It's great to have him, but there's nobody like you, Dan,
there used to be,
shares an office with him.
Yeah, there used to be people that were hired by the studios.
Not his fault.
That would look for scripts and say, this is going to make a great movie. And they would option those movies. And those people were actual filmmakers or people with creative degrees.
And those people were called tokatsus. And they were basically
breaded pork and noodles,
they were the ones that put the bread around the pork. Meaning this good script.
Breaders. That's what it meant.
Yeah.
We need more pork breaders.
But those people lost their jobs to lawyers.
Yeah. And Harvard MBAs. I mean, like that's who runs studios. As opposed to like when you look back at Easy Rider's Raging Bulls, like the great studio producers there were fucking maniacs. They're artistic maniacs. They're just like
Irwin Winkler.
Yeah, exactly. Zanuck, like these guys. Like they were there to make great movies, and they took giant risks. Like they knew how the business worked. They knew it was a business, but they knew how the business worked. And when you replace guys like that with people that are really good at like whatever managing your portfolio, like it's not going to work the same way.
But you see there are tech companies now. I know that Apple just buys big companies and then they put it under what?
Well, they do and they don't. They're in trouble now with the whole Apple Watch thing, right?
I know, but they bought a lot of the phone scan technology. They just bought an Israeli company that pioneered it, and they would just buy it rather than develop it. And so they just kind of swallowed up things and said, like Star Wars, and we'll just do it. And that's smart. But I think possibly what I'm trying to say is that the studios maybe borrowed from the tech model.
Yeah.
Oh, right. When they just bought Marvel and bought Star Wars.
Yeah, where they shouldn't have. It had been so top heavy. Right. It's like they just, we'll buy it and make it ours and blah, blah, blah and sell it.
Because say if you're a great art dealer, right? It's because you understand what you're buying and you understand the market. It's like being a great publisher or something like this, where you're just like, it's not that I'm just like, it's not a machine that I'm operating here. I have to have great taste. Like I'm laying bets on things that I know are good, not things that check boxes. Like, and which is also true for, say, gambling. Like great poker players are artists. Like they understand what is happening in the game. Like it's not simply percentages, it's understanding the people that you're playing with, right? And having the ability to look at a work of art and go, if we pitch this right, that's going to be a fucking crazy home run, right? If we put this in the right context, people are going to understand how great this is, and it's going to make a lot of money. Is going to make you money. That's a good bet, right? And you can put your chips forward on that stuff if you have taste, and if you are willing to risk your taste. Like like let's say like I have great taste, I'm willing to lay a big bet on that.
Like
then
Daniel Negreanu.
Like then you're doing it right.
Do you know who Daniel Negreanu is?
No.
Oh, look him up on YouTube. He is one of the greatest poker readers of all time. He can look at someone, just look at that, and he'll call your cards. And it's like, what the fuck?
It's like a magic trick, yeah.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
You know, or if you watch like the story of it's based on a real guy, but De Niro's character in Casino, you know, it's just like he gets it. He knows how to, like, he gets all the information. He's processing. He's thinking about it like this horse because of this history and blah blah blah. He knows what the bet is he's making, like, and it's based on real talent and understanding of his own that is making him the huge money. Like that's why he's a magic unicorn, right? And great studio producers are magic unicorns. They're artists themselves. You know, they are artists at understanding what is going to fucking work. You know, seeing the value of that art and putting that into practice is what your job is. It's not something that can be done by an automated teller, which is what most studio people are.
Yeah. That's right.
That's why Disney fell on its face. They don't have someone there identifying great art. They're just
Do you think they're going to get out of this hole?
Sure, they have the money. They can last it out until they get somebody good.
What do you think of that? I think
it's going to be a while before they get out of it because they haven't fucking figured out what the hell they did wrong, and they thought that we're going to bring Iger back and it's going to solve everything.
Yeah, that's going to solve the problems. Yeah.
So unless they get someone to replace Iger, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or unless Iger figures it out and said, "Oh fuck," you know, he started changing things, but maybe it's too late. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but they need a Robert Evans. You know, that's what they need. You know, and like that's Robert Evans. He was a crazy weirdo, you know?
Yeah, he was.
But he knew a good bet, man. Like, he's like, put the money down on Chinatown. That's going to do it. You know, like this is how you make money. You know? And Disney is like, I mean, even like, I think you're right. Like, when they bought Star Wars for $4 billion, like that's when you know they're going to lose $4 billion because they think that Star Wars is the magic bean machine.
It's already made. It's already done.
Right.
Let's just sell it and repackage it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you make a decision like that, like that car is going to win me the race. Nope. It's the driver that won you the race.
Yeah. But they're not. Yeah.
But so many people that we thought had talent didn't or fucked it up, right?
Fucked it up. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Like Kathleen Kennedy seemed like a really smart producer.
She largely is. I think she's very, very good.
And then the same thing with Kevin Feige, right?
Right. I mean, Feige got it right for a long time, but he didn't know what
was he stretched too thin?
Yeah, I think that like once you get into
there's a shelf life on all this type of work.
Yeah,
like getting the temperature of the room and trying to put out stuff. There is.
Yeah, and I think that like Feige, like after Avengers Endgame, he probably should have gone. Thank you, everybody. My magic production.
It's literally called the Endgame, for God's sake.
That is it. Exactly.
Right.
Ta-da. Like, take your bow, walk off stage. You'll be a legend forever. Like that's it. And he could have been thought of that way. But I like to think that the temptation, especially going forward with like, oh well, like lots of people with streaming and like maybe we can make a shitload of shows and COVID and everyone's watching TV. Like you see a possibility for a new model and maybe you can wrangle it. Maybe you can pull it off. And maybe maybe you can get another. Maybe there's a sequel for you in your action, and maybe it'll work. So I understand you want to try and figure it out again, but you should have figured it out with something else.
Yeah,
it's tough times right now. Yeah. Absolutely,
that's it. But I mean,
I think that there's ways of telling stories that could be better
and cheaper way cheaper.
Yeah, right? The numbers on this are just so crazy.
Yeah,
when you think about it, that it's
embarrassing. It's an embarrassment.
Yep. Yeah,
it's like the fucking Jamaican bobsled team beating the Canadians or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Exactly.
But the other thing too is they were outside of the system. And that is a big thing.
Just you look at the Canadian bobsled team.
Yeah, you could not get
a Disney movie.
Yeah, that's right. Cool Running, seen a million times. Terrific. But like you're right, Eric, because like there's no way to get Godzilla Minus One made as an American Godzilla movie in the current system. Like it's totally impossible. Totally impossible. You're like, well, no, we have the woman from Stranger Things. She's got to be in it. We have to have the other guy because he's really funny, and it's a 4-quadrant picture. We have to have lots of special effects.
Yeah, somebody would fuck it up, and they will have power and make it happen, and they'll destroy it.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's it.
They do have little moments. I'm not saying they're huge successes, but there's definitely glimpses of it. And I'm just going to give you one example. I'm not saying it's anywhere near as good as Godzilla Minus One, but if you look at the first Jumanji with the Rock,
loved it.
Yep, right.
That's the second Jumanji.
Yeah, that's
technically it's the second one. You're right, but it was
so good. I love that film.
It was fun.
Yeah,
fun movie. Great.
Fun movie, definitely.
Because the Rock was great.
Yeah, they know how to make a good movie.
Kevin Hart's hilarious.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fucking Gone with the Wind. You can do it right. You can just it's just a good fun movie.
Yeah, it had a bunch of visual effects, and it was a franchise, so it works.
But it was also, it was expensive, but it wasn't crazy expensive. It wasn't crazy expensive. That was a good mid-budget bet. Yeah. Like that's a responsible studio thing to do. And the thing is, you have to give credit to studios for Barbenheimer was extremely well packaged. Like that's a real marketing.
Well, that was
like
the Barbenheimer effect was started by the crowd, right?
Yeah,
like the audience has created that.
But she's so talented.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, but it really got helped by Oppenheimer and Barbie helped each other.
Absolutely. But like once they saw that it was happening, they played it. They leaned in hard, and it was very smart. I mean, when fucking Oppenheimer, which is a great movie, legitimate great movie, but a 3-hour-long biopic about a physicist makes nearly $1 billion, you've done something correctly. Like that's pretty good.
You know what they did correctly? They didn't use any visual effects.
No visual effects. Can you believe that?
No CGI.
So amazing. That's what Nolan delivers right there. He doesn't lean on CGI. Authenticity.
Yeah, the way he intended.
Yeah, I have some Peloton words for him. I love you, Chris Nolan. I love your movies. You're amazing.
I'm going to start joining Peloton so I can start yelling at Chris.
Seriously,
that's the funniest story I've heard in so long.
It's true. I mean, that's the thing, dude. I mean, like I really do love his movie. Especially like I didn't love his movies to start with, but I really do love his movies now. And I thought Oppenheimer was terrific. But yeah, I think that he should take the lead in saying, I use shitloads of CGI. I just use it right.
Yeah.
Like, be brave and take that credit. Like, I think that's the way to go. Like Ridley Scott tried to say.
Jason put in our YouTube chat, he put down electrons, protons, and pelotons.
Pelotons. That's right. That's right. But yeah, I tell you, so the studios aren't completely moronic. It's just when it comes to the big franchise stuff, because Oppenheimer is not a franchise.
I think they know that it's a success, and I think they know, and like you said, Eric, maybe they just write it off as lightning in a bottle because they can't quantify it. They need something to quantify. They have to go to the office and say, here's a chart why this movie's going to succeed. Right. And you can't go to an office in Hollywood with Godzilla Minus One and a chart and say, this is why it's going to succeed.
That's right.
No, you can't do that.
No way. Zero. No way to predict that. Like there's a way to predict that if you know what a good movie is.
Right.
Like if you're Robert Evans, you look at that and go like, I'm going to bet on that horse. That looks like a good horse.
Yeah, but that's, you got to have a Robert Evans, right?
You got to have Robert Evans.
Right. And everyone's going to say whatever Robert says because he just makes his money.
Yeah. And the thing is like Robert Evans.
You're certainly not going to look at Zaslav and say, you know what I bet on?
Right. Fucking
Makeover
asshole.
House 5, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. House Flippers 4. Like, I mean, the thing is that
crazy.
Like Robert Evans, like you can grow a Robert Evans. Like you can create a cult. Yeah, it's true. Like Godzilla, but you can cultivate a culture of filmmaking that produces a Robert Evans within your company. Right. That is absolutely possible. And, but you need to focus on doing that. Like you really have to understand what you're doing. And I think that like Kathleen Kennedy has a lot of those traits. She's more of a business person than Robert Evans, but like, but she had a decent idea of what was going on for a long time, but she started to get high on her own supply and
I don't think she got high on her own supply. I think she was under a fuckload of pressure. And she got pulled in a bunch of directions. Yeah, and fair. I'm not making excuses for her because I think I still hold her accountable.
She was really good for a very long time.
But she basically had to make like 5 TV shows and 3 movies all at once. And you can do one Star Wars at a time. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And also there was this mentality in this, especially in the later Star Wars films, of like, just fan favorite because of the Comic-Con problems we have.
Yes. Yeah. Like she's trying to break an unbreakable horse with that thing, and like, I think that, it was sort of a novel. She came up with a sort of novel solution. It just doesn't work long-term, which is like, what if we build a franchise around a permanent, unchanging character? Which is what fans think they want. Maybe that'll work. Maybe we'll just pre-build an action figure and have that be the story.
I also think they basically built they built scripts around the same fucking narrative, the same structure, the hero's journey.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, like Godzilla is also a hero's journey. It's just that it does it right.
But that's
like they do it wrong. Right? That's why it doesn't. When they do it wrong, it's bad.
Well, they really made evident the relatability of the characters and what they yearn for.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the characters that you see in these shows, they're just not relatable.
They're not relatable.
Well, this is the thing, is like the
way they make things relatable now in films is, I'm sorry to say it, but they add every fucking diversity. Look, there's a gay person. Look, there's an Asian person. Look, there's this person.
There's not like, you can cast whoever you want and tell the story about whoever you want. That's fine. But if you think
the priority is that diversity, not the character.
Like diversity is not a problem. It's the fact that you are not thinking about storytelling first. Like, you can cast literally anyone in these films. Like, they should have a diverse cast and make a good movie.
That's right.
Like the problem that they're running into is just like, and I'm trying to find a way to concisely say this. When you look at Christian fundamentalist films, like, which are an entire money-making thing, right? Like faith-based filmmaking, right? Faith-based filmmaking makes a very predictable amount of money every single year because it has a dedicated audience. It has a fan base of Christ, right? And you make movies like God's Not Dead and all this kind of junky garbage, right? And the thing is that, like, the ideals of the story of Christ are not so alien that you couldn't package them into a more successful movie. But the problem they face is that they have equated telling religious stories with making shitty movies. Right? And so the idea of a faith-based film means in your mind shitty soap opera level storytelling and acting that I don't want to bother paying for. Like, there are plenty of good Jesus movies. Like, there's plenty that I love. You know, there's Last Temptation of Christ, great Jesus movie made by a great artist, right? Like, I'm not religious, but I love that movie. It's a great movie, etc. Like, you could expand the audience if you were making good movies. You could actually grow your audience. But with what we are doing now, it's like you've equated these progressive ideals, which are absolutely terrific, like diversity, representation. These are absolutely all great ideas. You've equated those with shitty storytelling. And so now when people see, oh, it has a diverse cast, they go, I bet it's fucking stupid. And they don't go. Like, that's not the cast's fault. That's the shitty fucking filmmaking.
You're saying that basically when I say, oh, it's got a diverse cast, it's shitty, it's like me saying it's got a bunch of CGI, it's shitty.
Exactly. Exactly the same. Like, there's no reason in the world. Like, you should be able to like there's not even a qualitative question. Like, you could have if you had Ryan Coogler make an Star Wars that is 98% African American, you'd end up, and you let him write it himself and make whatever movie he wants, you'd end up with a really great fucking Star Wars movie. Like, representation or no, you'd end up with a great fucking movie because he can make great movies. Like, that's it. But when you make Black Widow, like, it's a terrible movie. It's not a feminist work of art. It's a terrible movie. If you want to make a feminist superhero movie, okay, go get Kelly Reichardt and really make a goddamn good movie. Like, that's how you do it. Then you have representation, you have a strong statement, you're really saying something. But you give me Black Widow, I'm associating, like, people in the Midwest who aren't, you know, sorry to pick on the Midwest, but they watch Black Widow and go, oh, these fucking girl power films. It isn't the girl power that's the problem. It's the fucking shitty movie making that's the problem. And now those things are irrevocably intertwined in their mind. That's why even when you do it right, it doesn't make any money. Like, they've spoiled their own product. That's what Disney's done. And which is actually which is part of what the reason why the new Indiana Jones flopped, is because that's a pretty good movie. And it's got Fleabag, what's her name? And like, I was Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is a terrific actor and a great writer, right?
Oh, love her.
And when I saw the initial ads, my reaction was, oh Christ, they've even gotten Phoebe Waller-Bridge to do this sort of like, she's more badass than Indiana Jones, and here comes a flawless character that usurps his logo font, and that's what we're gonna get. Like, and I openly complained about that. I'm just like, please don't fuck this up. And you know what? They didn't fuck it up. She's a cool character, great relationship with Jones, good storytelling, and I enjoyed that movie.
They went after her for that. They canceled some of her future movies.
Yeah, like I was like, this was it turns out this was a really good idea and a pretty good movie, right? But many people didn't see it because they were like, I can't put up with another storyless piece of garbage like Black Widow or the new Star Wars films or any of that stuff. I just can't do it. And so I'm not going to spend my money on it. And I understand that. Like, that is the, like, when people get into the go woke, go broke business, it isn't the fucking woke part that's ruining it. It's the shitty movie making. Be fucking progressive. Man, I am a progressive. Be as progressive if you want. I'm there for it. But stop making bad movies. You need movies where characters change and learn and do things that I care about.
I think a lot of the studio heads are going to cash out soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, there's going to be room for a new generation, I think, of filmmakers.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. I think we should all celebrate that. I think we should all think about the filmmakers that are coming up and see what they have to offer. Because you think of things like this movie right here, when everyone's sitting there complaining about CGI with the Oppenheimer effect and everything else, and this movie comes along, it's not because CGI did not ruin this movie, right?
Right. No. This is a great movie with a really positive message, and delivers an incredibly good time. Mm-hmm. Like there's no reason why, you can't you can take anything that Marvel wants to make. You can take Marvels or whatever the latest bomb was, and you could have made that a great movie. And if you'd made it a great movie, then you would have made an argument for all the things you want to say and that you believe in, and you'd make a lot of money. But you got to make a good movie. That's your responsibility.
But this is a Jaws film. This is a Jaws film. I was kind of jokingly saying that everything everywhere is kind of like the Easy Rider. This is the Jaws.
And talk about that. Talk about a fucking talk about a woke masterpiece. That is it. That is representation a go-go, queer representation, female lead, Asian everywhere. Representation, everything. And the movie fucking absolutely rules.
Yeah.
Absolutely rules. That's why it blew up. It deserved it. It's incredible. You can't, I don't give a shit who you are. You watch that movie and you're like, it was pretty good. And you might even cry in the end. I fucking cried my eyes out in that movie every time I saw it.
Yeah. Especially because it deals with real issues of today.
Yes.
Of kids and their parents.
Yeah. It really gets you. If you have a message, that's being responsible to the message. Mm-hmm. I think it's irresponsible to say we're making a feminist movie and then make Black Widow. That damages what you're trying to promote.
It damages feminism.
It damages feminism. Who the fuck wants to pay for this? This is feminism? Yeah. Whereas a movie that I really liked is Black Panther, Ryan Coogler's movie.
Right.
Which has incredible social critique, and it's a good fucking action adventure.
Sure.
That's
the Spideyverse. That's awesome too.
And Spider-Verse, another, and those movies are talk about that is this woke, progressive, crazy, left-wing crackpot stuff that I sling all the time that I love, and it's unbelievably beautiful, vivid, and exciting.
But you see, also that's interesting, right? Also, Spider-Verse had obviously a look to it. It was just.
It's perfect. A knockout. These are works of art.
But Black Panther had terrible visual effects.
It did, but it also made a shitload of money.
Because it wasn't because of visual effects. It made a shit ton of money because it was a good story. Right?
It's a good fucking story.
Reiterates this thing, right?
Exactly.
And so it's not it's bad visual effects, whatever. It's that's kind of what's interesting about how. Yeah.
Because I can't I feel when I see the bullshit go woke go broke stuff, I'm just this. I can't fault hey man, they're morons, you can't help they're dumb. This is how they think. However, you're not doing anyone any favors by giving them fuel like Black Widow. This is what you're doing wrong. You want to make your argument, make it well and make it undefeatable. Like Spider-Verse. I came out of both of those movies breathless. I was like, Jesus Christ. That's nothing I've ever seen before. Give me that stuff. Give me that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you got muted, Eric. You muted yourself, Eric. Eric, we can't hear you. Can you hear him?
Oh, no, I can't. Eric, can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Muted. Yeah, you hit the mute button on your mic. We don't hear you. Nope.
Nothing.
Nope. Hear me?
There. Oh, it's coming back. It's coming back. There you go. Nice.
Very quiet.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
You're out of sync.
How about now?
Weirdly out of sync. That's bizarre.
Yeah, very out of sync. Strange.
I think you're speaking from the future.
Am I out of sync now? No?
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. It's very weird to look. I can't look at you. It's too bizarre.
Basically, you're talking when your lips are not moving and not talking when your lips are moving. Yeah. It's very strange.
There's a quantum entanglement problem.
Yeah.
It's a quantum entanglement. All right. Well, hopefully, you know why? I think my...
now you're syncing up.
There it is. It's catching up slowly.
How about now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Still very quiet, but we're gonna let it go. We're at kind of the end anyway.
Yep.
And Eric, you must be exhausted, so I really don't want to keep you up too much later.
Yes. But I was going to quickly say, I kind of come up with some ideas for Marvel where what if the whole action sequences take place in like this blue screened world? So you don't actually have to do any green screen or blue screen.
That's like, incredible, yes.
That's the world.
It turns out when you're in the quantum realm, everything is green.
And blue and green.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful.
It could work.
I think that's it.
Work. Studios would love that. We save money.
Just might work.
Plus to minus and minus and plus. Yes, exactly. There it is.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't believe we did a full 3 hours, and we only basically talked about Godzilla Minus One for about 35 minutes, but we talked about the film industry for most of the time. I still think it is an absolute, this is, when I saw this movie, I was like, this movie is the epitome of everything that's right and everything that's wrong with the industry. Like, it's really sort of showcases the filmmaking and where we are now. And so I'm very, very impressed with what we saw. So
yeah, it's a ray of light in the darkness of franchise media.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Eric. It's like people will say it's lightning in a bottle. But I think it's more than lightning in a bottle. I think we can all learn a lesson here.
Yep, 100%.
Be a good writer.
Yep, make a good. Here, it's like Steve Martin talking about how to be a millionaire. First, get $1 million.
I love that.
Step 1, collect underwear. Step 3, profit.
Profit. Exactly.
All right, guys.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Do the log off?
Yeah. Ready to do this? Drink.
That's good.
Talk.
Drink.